All right, so we are skipping back actually to the morning before you guys went and met with Ango. That morning, just you guys got up. It's been a normal day. You basically just turned in the Chronosphere the night before, but we're kind of rewinding slightly just back to that morning for Peter specifically for your roll the bones ritual. This is the first time you've actually got three, but basically when you did your roll the bones in the morning, which is your normal diviner ritual in the morning. So, just like you've done 1,000 times before, though, you're kneeling on the floor in your quarters, your mid-ritual, channeling the Rill to give you insight into the coming day's events. The sand has been sprinkled out, and you've thrown the carved runic bones out to clatter into the middle of them. The runes start to grow a dim blue on the carved wooden bones, and your sight begins to darken. And all this is normal, but this time, just like it had been a few days before, you're interrupted, like it had been a couple days previous. The divination, instead of showing you the day's events, pulls your mind away from that foresight, from what your normal practice is, and instead your internal vision is just kind of blitzed open, and you know what you're seeing is not of potential futures, but instead you're seeing what is happening right now at this very moment, somewhere far away on the surface. What you're seeing is a disheveled study of somebody who's preparing for something big. It's somewhere underground. There's a chill in the air. It's kind of just permeating these wet stone walls in this kind of cave. And this room is lit by several dozen candles, which are all arranged around a desk. And that desk is piled high with arcane tomes and piles of maps and things like that. Behind the desk is a large wooden board that is displaying a map of the planet the whole planet, and there are strings connecting images and diagrams at certain points on the map, like Phandalin and Dry Gulch and Cragshade and Mahadrakam and Aubert and Mist. And all of these different cities are sort of connected by this web of strings, like red yarn, basically, like you've seen in movies of somebody tracking a serial killer, that kind of thing, of these pictures and diagrams. And it's quite clearly the board of somebody who's been tracking the Idrilim and the college intently. Apart from the candles, there's another source of light in this room, which is a giant 6-foot-tall glowing pod, like a big cylinder, that stands on the opposite end of the room from the desk, and it's full of this swirling green liquid. And inside you can see something that's growing in there, or a shape, a humanoid shape that's growing in there. There's like a body that's being created inside of this pod, but the liquid inside is too opaque for you to make out the face or details. You have the briefest moment of control of being able to kind of dictate where you're looking in this space. You looking at anything particular?
I want to look at the board, just the strings and...
Sorry, it's specifically
I'm
just
sorry,
Peter.
it's just him.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
Peter.
sorry.
Yeah, he's doing
I
his
missed
roll
that
the bones
part.
ritual. Yeah, sorry. It's just him doing his roll the bones ritual, so he's the only one that's actually seeing this. And I mean, theoretically, he can tell you about it after the fact, but as far as what Peter's looking at.
I'll take a look at the board to see what's going on with the tracking.
So, looking at the board, you see from the candlelight and the kind of greenish glow coming off of this container, you see that the map and all of the pictures and faces that are on there, you see your face, you see Ketis's and Nivara's, and there's essentially like kind of quick sketches of these. You see another face that it looks pretty similar to Nivara. You see a clean-cut man, another picture that looks like a clean-cut man with small glasses. You see a young dark-skinned woman with white hair drawn up there. Basically, you see a few of these pictures that are kind of pasted up there, each one kind of tacked to this board, and then this kind of interconnected yarn that's connecting those to different places on the board, and then most of them being places that you knew from even before you joined the field team. You recognize the places that are marked on there are places that Idriling were recovered from, or at least that they had been at one point, like Mahadrakam, which is where the Ram's Head Hammer was. You see Cragshade, which is where the Vine Lash was, Dry Gulch, which is where you guys got the Chrono Spear, and so on. And all of those are marked. But as you're kind of piecing this together and looking over this, the last thing you see is the desk again, as your vision is beginning to pull away. And you see the desk again, and there's a scroll that's unfurled, and it's being held in place by 4 candles, one at each corner. And this scroll is an incredibly detailed map with a route drawn through it in red, and it's a map depicting with very perfect accuracy the headquarters of the college, the place you guys are right now. This red line is kind of drawn throughout it. The vision fades, the bones rest still, the dim blue glow is gone, and that was what you saw.
All right.
So you got a 17, 9, and a 6. I think we rolled that last time, didn't we? So you got 3 already. Did we roll that last time? Do you want to re-roll those, or just? I'll give you that option. Do you want to re-roll them? You want to keep the 17, 9, and 6?
I'll just re-roll them again.
Okay. Right. Roll 1d20 and then another and then another. Don't roll 3 together. Okay. Well, that could be useful.
Well, yeah, you never know.
Well, I mean, you can give it to other people, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So is that just a wizard thing?
It's specifically a divination thing. It's a divination wizard thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So the specific kind of
yeah, the kind of
wizard it. Yeah. Nice.
I updated it for you, Sako. All right, so we are jumping back to that was just something that was supposed to have been in the last session. I just didn't have it finished, and I think the last session was when I was sick, wasn't it? And I could barely talk.
Yeah, you had like a bronchitis or something.
Yep. So like mostly over that as of like 2 weeks ago, but I still like super congested for some reason. It's really annoying. But none of the other symptoms, thankfully. So, anyways, so that all happened this morning. You've had time to think about that. Did you tell Kiedis and Ivara about what you saw?
Yeah, obviously we're meeting up, so I'm going to let them know what we saw, or what I saw.
Okay. So you guys, well, we'll just say that you kind of told them about that before Ango showed up then. But you're sitting at a table in the Arboretum. Ango's there. The Arboretum is mostly unoccupied. It's basically pretty empty in here, except for the cafeteria workers that are shuffling about, that are preparing for lunch. It's about 10:30 a.m. And Ango, in his perpetually cheery, if somewhat nervous-sounding voice, he says, so that's where we stand. Super powerful arcane energy up above, in the Dellin's Cap chamber, and below, down in the brig. He says, look, and I know this is kind of a dangerous suggestion, but if you guys want to find out what's really going on here, I propose a very light investigative break-in at both places. I've been watching the guard rotations. I think I know the best time to make those moves, but we'll need to do both at the same time, because someone's going to need to go up to the Dellin's Cap and someone down to the brig, and really, to be fair, that time's about on us. The guards are thinnest at lunch, and Sebastian always goes to his quarters. Sebastian is the guy that's always up in the Dellin's Cap. He's the caretaker for the Dellin's Cap. So what do you think? What do you want to do?
I guess we're going to have to split up, huh?
2 and 2.
He says, I mean, I can go.
Does Ango?
I mean, if you need me along, I'll go. Otherwise, I mean, I can go back to the library and support from there. I'm not real brave, you know.
Yeah, all right, no problem, man. No problem. You can support. So, I would actually say Navarro would go to the Dellin's Cap, because they seem to have an affinity more. I mean, it's just a suggestion.
He kind of nods. Sorry, go ahead, Becky. I think I heard you talking.
I would say as long as you're going to see Robbie, because you actually know who Robbie is. So.
Okay.
Because Peter's never met Robbie, right?
That's true. Yeah, because he was gone before Peter came in, I think. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I are going to have to split up in bed.
Okay. So Kiedis is going to Robbie, Navarro's going to the Dellin's Cap. Peter, where are you going?
I will probably go to the Dellin's Cap as well.
Okay. All right. Ango says, well, all right, guys. I mean, this sounds like a good plan. You know, just let's be careful and everything. I mean, this is still our workplace. We don't want to hurt anybody. The last when I looked, I looked before I came back here, and there were still 2 guards at the brig. But I mean, I don't know if they're both going to go to lunch, or maybe one will. I don't know. Just we don't need to hurt anybody. We just need to hopefully get some answers, because I don't feel like everything's being told to us quite the way that it's actually happening. I don't know if you guys feel that, but that's how it seems to me. So, I mean, do you guys need me to do anything? Like, I mean, I'll be available in the library, but do you need me to do anything while I'm there? Anything I can do to help?
Can he be positioned somewhere with visibility to see if anyone's coming?
Oh, yeah, I can do that for sure. That probably would be more useful, actually. I'll tell you what. If I see anybody coming, I'll go caw caw. Little big bird sounds.
All right.
Nobody will know, right? It'll be a little suspicious. All right. So that's the plan. You guys, you have half an hour or so before the rotation would be coming out for lunch or whatever. So you guys doing anything else to prepare? You guys gonna split up and get ready to go? What are you doing?
I guess just get ready to go, right? Well,
Yeah, we pretty good with Fantasy Costco. We good?
Yeah, I don't think I need anything.
I mean, you guys can, of course, if you need to. But we did You guys went through Fantasy Costco. I think we did that in the last session, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. Or the one before.
I mean, it would have made sense to do so, which is what I'm thinking we did. Oh, yeah, we did, because that's where Becky got the Phantom Fist and Peter got the Wand of Switcheroo. Alright, then if you guys are heading off to go your different directions, tell you what, Ketis and Peter, both of you roll just a D6, roll both of you roll a D20, whoever was higher, roll that one first. Or Becky, doesn't matter. You both rolled natural 20s? Really? What are the fucking odds? That's insane. Alright, try it again. Try it again, the both of you. There we go. Alright, so Ketis wins. Alright, so... That's funny. Alright, so you knew where this was only because the hallway getting back there... I don't know if this is the right one or not. Yeah, it'll be alright. You knew where this was only because the hallway that leads back there is the same direction that you would normally go to get to the director's office. So you kind of sneak back there. You're going by yourself then. There's, since Peter and Navarro are heading up towards the elevator. So you guys kind of split up and go your separate ways. Peter and Navarro are heading over towards the elevator while you go back towards the hallway that leads back towards the director's office. And you can hear two people talking at the end of the hallway. But as you're, kind of making your way there, are you doing anything in particular? You hear two voices talking at the end of the hallway, like further down past the director's office.
Alright, definitely going to be slowing down and stepping quietly and stuff, and trying to listen as much as I can to what they're saying.
Okay, so what you hear then are two male voices talking back, both human, talking back and forth, and one of them is just saying, well, while you're there, grab me some mashed potatoes. They're just talking about lunch, on who's going to go pick up lunch for the two of them from the cafeteria. And you're kind of just standing there trying to, look busy, trying to pretend like you belong.
Yeah.
Right. You hear footfalls coming towards you from them. The voices stop and the footfalls start coming your way. And you look over and you see kind of an older guy, just looks weather beaten, not really scarred or anything like that, but just looks, tired a bit. Walks by, kind of gives you a really curt nod as he's going by. It looks like he would probably have saluted, but maybe that's not quite appropriate here. And he kind of continues on his way, but as he's passing you, you do hear caw-caw coming from behind you.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Alright, I'm looking around. Is there anything around me, like a broom or anything that I can clean? Like I'm cleaning or something, Trying to go past those guys, sweep around them.
Pretend to be
While one of them walks. While one of them walks out to go to lunch. And then
roll an investigation.
Okay. So I'm guessing somebody's coming from, from behind me, and that's what Ango was talking about, so I'm guessing I need to get moving. So.
Looking around, you don't really see anything like for cleaning here in the hallway, but you are right next to the director's office. You're basically like 10 feet away, 10 feet closer towards the Arboretum. So if you were to walk further down, you would pass the director's office. That's about the only thing that's, stands out that's in this hallway until you go around the corner, which would go down towards the stairs that lead to the brig.
Alright, I'll head towards the offices and see if it sounds like there's anybody in there, or no? Because I might hide in there.
Okay, so you walk up towards the door, and there's a little kind of an entryway, like a waiting room essentially for her office, and you kind of walk through the outer door that leads into this little waiting room area, and then there's another door there, and that one is closed. So the door to her office is closed, but you're in like a small waiting room basically, with an open door that leads to the hallway.
Alright, then I will sit down in the waiting room and just kind of pretend like I'm waiting.
Okay.
Is there anything like to look at, books or anything, like pretend like I'm waiting?
There's a High Life magazine.
Nice. That'll work.
Not
Home Garden.
Not High Life. Highlights, I think is what it was. The kids magazine. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
High Life is not the kids magazine I was thinking of.
Well, that would be a good magazine to read, though. I just don't know why that'd be in there.
But you pick it up, and you notice that it's actually from 2.5 years ago. It's from, like, March of 2012 or something like that, like a long, long time ago. But, I mean, these don't have necessarily the most, up-to-date materials in them anyway, so who cares? You can sit there and do your maze and highlight, the pictures of which picture is missing this thing and that kind of stuff. So you can play your little kids' games. But as you're sitting there in this waiting room for a second, you hear the footfalls coming up that presumably were what Ango was warning you about. And sure enough, right around the corner into the waiting room stands Carrie. And comes up and is now kind of standing at the door. She kind of mouth opens just for a second. She goes, "Hey, Ketis, I wasn't really expecting to see you. Did the director call for you as well?"
Yeah, so I just came to see what was going on. So, and this magazine was just real good. I just couldn't put it down. So.
Is she busy then? I mean, usually she's got the door open.
I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe I got the wrong time. Maybe she meant like tomorrow or something. Somebody told me to come by and see her, so maybe I got the wrong day. I don't know. I always do that. So.
I was like, okay. I mean, should I knock then? I mean, did she tell you she'd be a minute or anything? Have you talked to her?
Yeah, I'll come back and catch her next time. So.
Okay. She just kind of moves over and then sits down beside you then. What are you doing?
All right. I'm gonna get up and see if the other guy went to, if I can hear if the other guy went to go get the lunch yet. Two guys that were standing there.
Well, one guy passed you that was presumably going to get lunch. The other one is still. You don't hear anything at the end of the hallway, but he's probably still there.
Okay. Let's see. Well, does Carrie work in the jail area?
No.
In the brig? Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. See if she might want to help.
She was a field agent until basically no more field agents except for you guys. So what? What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna talk to her and tell her that I wanted to talk to Robbie. So is it possible? Let's see if she knows if it's possible to talk to people that are locked up.
She kind of looks puzzled for a second. She says, I mean, maybe under normal circumstances, sure, but I mean, Robbie specifically was put down in the brig, at the director's orders for breaking into her personal quarters and everything. That's something we probably need to ask the director about.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious because it didn't seem like it's the kind of stuff that he would know how to get into. So
yeah,
just wanted to talk to him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely weird. He not only would he not know how, but he wouldn't have the ability to be able to get past those safeguards. So I mean, we're all pretty puzzled by it. Roll. Tell you what, are you trying to persuade? Well, tell me what you're trying to do, what your aim is here.
Trying to see if I can get her to kind of help me to get a chance to talk to Robbie, so I'm trying to get her on my side a little bit. So persuasion, I guess.
Well, so the thing is, what you've said isn't exactly trying to persuade. It's more of just she's already friendly to you, so she'd be willing to help. As long as there was something reasonable about it. I'd say go ahead and make a persuasion roll. Oh, good. I wasn't sure if that was still going to go. She says, I mean, to be honest, I'm really puzzled about it too. And she kind of brings her voice down a little bit because you are sitting, presumably 10 feet away from the director, 15 feet away from her if she's in her own office. You don't know that she is, but that's what, Carrie's kind of being careful about. So she brings her voice down and kind of just barely above a whisper. She says, I'd really like to know too. I don't know how we can go about this though. I mean, do you have an idea? What were you thinking? Because I mean, if we just go back there, they're definitely gonna tell her.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out as a way to talk to Robbie for a minute without anybody knowing. So, and I think right now there's only one guy that we would need to get past to get back into the brig where Robbie is. So,
did you go and talk to the guards already?
I heard one of them. Well, actually, both of them talking to each other. One of them just left to go get lunch. He just passed by us.
Yeah, I passed by him when I came back. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, tell you what. I guess we'll, you want to just go back there and we'll wing it. What do you think?
Yeah, get back there. I don't know. Maybe you could, get them distracted or something, and I can get past or something. If you think that's a good idea.
It's worth a shot. And she kind of stands up, and she's just trying to be like really, because she's normally pretty noisy, as far as just stomping around, not necessarily on purpose, but she just makes a lot of general noise as she's moving around. But she kind of stands up and kind of carefully moves over towards the door, trying to be quiet about it. What are you doing?
I'll get up too, and then I'll just wait a minute for her to go ahead if she's ready to go over and see if she can talk to the guy, get him distracted.
Okay.
Keep my ears open for what they're saying.
Okay. She moves up to the to the doorway, kind of peeks her head out a little bit, looks left, looks right, kind of checking both directions to see if anybody's noticing or paying attention. It doesn't appear that they are, as far as you can tell. And she kind of heads off to the right, which is down the hallway towards the brig. You following after?
Yeah, a few steps behind, so that way the guy doesn't see me.
Right. It curves around you haven't come back to this part before, but you know that this is back here. But it curves around a corner and then comes up to the top of some stairs, basically, and standing there, sure enough, is just one guy. He's just standing there, kind of leaning against the wall. He's actually got a small book out that he's reading in one hand. Real big guy. And he just looks like he's reading it, but as soon as he hears, the footsteps coming up, he's already looking as you guys come around the corner. He snaps the book shut, kind of gives you guys a smile. He says, Carrie, Ketis, hey, what can I do for you?
I just came by to see if we could have a chance to talk to Robbie, actually.
I mean, I'd like to say yes, but I mean that's on the director's orders. I mean, she'd have to. Did she give you permission? Did she, tell you guys you could go down and talk to him?
No, actually she didn't. But I'm thinking it was kind of fishy about everything that happened. So if you could, accidentally not see me go past you or something while you're busy talking to Carrie, then maybe nobody asked to know, and I can just get hopefully a couple answers out of him, and I'll be right out of your hair. So.
His eyes go pretty wide at that. He says, go ahead and roll. This is going to be a disadvantage because that was literally just outright tell him, don't do your job for a second.
Yeah.
So try a persuasion at disadvantage.
Okay.
Damn it, you asshole.
No bad rolls yet. Luckily.
That was a really shitty excuse, but I can't help it if you roll decently on it. It was a 16 plus 4 for a total of 20. And I was in my head the DC was going to be like 16, 17 at the very least. So his eyes go wide, his jaw kind of drops a little bit, and then he kind of looks down, down towards his hands a little bit, and the mouth closes. He kind of mumbles. He says, look. It feels to me kind of like something's going on too. I didn't want to say it, but look, I mean, just Tom's gone. You need to be quick. You just go down there, do whatever you need to do, and be back up and out of here. You got 3 minutes. Go. And he's just looking down. He's not looking up. Like he's just basically pretending to ignore you, like he doesn't know that you're there.
Say thank you real quick and run off.
All right. So you're running down the stairs.
Yeah.
Okay. So you and Carrie both just kind of. Stomp, go down the stairs as quickly as you can. The base of the stairs, there's a cell on either side. On either side of a very short hallway. It's well lit, it's clean, somewhat cold. At first, both cells appear to be unoccupied, but on hearing your footfalls on the cold tile, a rough brown blanket in the cell on the left begins to stir, and you see the messy kind of unkempt hair in the face of a boy, maybe 15 or so, peeking up over the top. The boy kind of blinks hard a few times, kind of brings the hands and starts rubbing his eyes. He says, Ketis, what are you doing here? What are you guys doing here?
Hey, Robbie, buddy, we just came to have some questions answered, if you don't mind. See if we can give you some help. Get out of here.
Help? Are they letting me out of here?
No, but we're going to see if we can convince them to. But I need to see if you can help me first with some answers. So.
All right. I mean, what do you need? What can I do? What can I help with?
Like what happened on that day that was there? What do you remember exactly at all? Any small details that maybe you've thought of since the last time we talked? Do you remember anything like that?
He
try to help you out.
A big, kind of an exasperated sigh. He says, I don't know, my dude. I mean, it was treason, I guess. I mean, I'll be honest. The director didn't believe me. Nobody believes me. But I mean, somebody had me go through all the college. Even places that I wasn't authorized to be. And then I just kind of woke up, and I was in a place that I wasn't supposed to be. And there, the director arrested me, and I mean, I've been down here ever since.
So do you feel like you were doing it yourself? Did you want to, or did somebody feel like it was doing it to you? Somebody controlling you felt like?
Yeah, I have vague recollection of going through these places, but I mean, I wasn't doing it. It was like I was being driven by somebody, like something was in my mind driving me like a wagon. And then, I mean, I woke up in this dark room, and I don't know what happened. I wish I did.
All right. Did you hear any? Were the voices talking to you in your head, telling you what to do?
No, I didn't hear anything. I mean, there was. I mean, the room I woke up in was. I mean, it was dark, and it was right by this big, heavy vault door, and I mean, I know it was the director's personal space, and there was some of her stuff back there, and those were making, her things were making some noise, but, I mean, other than that, it wasn't much noise. I didn't hear much. That's where they found me, man.
All right. Are we connected on communication devices? Am I with Ketis and Peter, or am I just with Ego?
No, well, you have your stones in your ears.
Okay, what do you guys think? What else should we ask Robbie while we're here? Or see if Carrie thinks of anything that she can think of to ask Robbie to help?
Well, kind of the last things he remembers, where was he when he kind of blacked out?
Good point. Good question.
I mean, I was in my room, so I'm assuming then that Peter has said that to Ketis. Ketis has parroted that question back, right?
Yeah, I'm translating. Yeah.
So, and you guys can't hear the surroundings at all, meaning that Peter and Navarre can't hear what Robbie is saying, unless, Ketis tells that to them, that's all. Anyways, it doesn't mean that Ketis couldn't tell you that, of course, but anyways, he says, I was in my bunk, in my quarters, and then, I remember standing up, because I felt something in my head, I didn't know what it was, I felt sick, and then I stood up, and then I was just, I couldn't move, I couldn't control myself, I was looking out through my eyes, but, I was just being moved. And it walked me all around through this place, and it had me stand here in these certain corners, right around a corner from something that I knew, maybe there was a security thing there or something, I don't know. And then I was just standing there, and then I felt this surge, and then I would walk through these places that I knew were secure, that there's no way I should have been able to walk through these. And then it, took me all over the place, all through the director's quarters, and kept I was opening boxes and looking through shelves and all kinds of things. And then, I woke up in that room, surrounded by the director's things.
Does he know what he was supposed to be looking for?
So again, parroting, that Navarre tells that to Ketis. Ketis says it out. He says, I don't know, man. I mean, there was lots of stuff. There was, they had me looking through these huge bookshelves, all these different books, and just flipping through these pages that I couldn't even read, through books and papers and little shiny things. There was this cool globe that showed the whole world. There was this big fish tank in there, a couple piles of gems on her desk that we were fishing through. I really, we kept looking at the fish tank, back and forth at the fish tank, but there wasn't anything that I could see in there. He said, I don't know, man, that's really, as much as I know, I was pretty confused by the whole thing, to be honest. You're at about 2.5 minutes. You've got probably enough time for one more question.
All right, who was the last person that you saw before you were in your bunk and lost control? And did they touch you? Did they hug you, shake your hand, anything like that?
The last person, I think, probably my mom. She gave me a hug. Other than that, I think it was you guys. You wouldn't do this to me, right?
Of course not. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
My mom doesn't do it. She doesn't know her head from a hole in the ground.
Okay. Well, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the help.
He says, "Hey, look, can you dudes break me out of here?"
Gonna try.
That's
what we're doing right now.
Now, right?
Not this very second, my man, but hopefully very soon.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to see me. It gets lonely down here.
We'll be back for you soon.
All right. So you were heading back up then? You done? Well, you're pretty much out of time with him anyways, but you're just heading back up?
Yeah, Carrie and I are going to get out of there and head back up.
All right, so you guys make your way back out. Oh shit, I didn't prepare that, son of a bitch. We will just have to go without those then, because I didn't... fuck. Alright, this, for the Peter and Navarre section, I didn't grab the part that I needed. So this will have to do, I think. Yeah, that'll do, I think. Alright. So, Peter and Navarre, you guys kind of were sneaking over towards the elevator. There's a guard outside, but it's not, you have access to go up there, just usually Sebastian is up there. And since it's lunchtime, presumably Sebastian won't be. So you're not stopped or anything. You guys kind of jump on the elevator, make the long trip up. It takes a good solid 3 or 4 minutes or something for the whole trip all the way up there. Are you guys doing anything to prepare or anything like that before you head out to the Dellen's Cap chamber, or are you just going out?
I guess just going out, especially if he's not supposed to be up there.
Yeah, Sebastian should be at lunch according to Ango.
Yeah, I'm just good to go. Just keep Toki on my shoulder.
Okay, I was going to ask what Toki's doing. So, okay. Alright, so you guys step out at the top of the elevator. The doors open. As soon as the doors open, you remember, oh shit, there's always guards here. And normally there are 2 rows of 8 that are standing directly in front of the doorway, pointing towards the Dellen's Cap. But remember, it opens out into open space. You're just walking through open space. But where there normally are 2 rows of 8, there's just 1 guard on each side. But you can walk your way right past them. They don't really care that you're there. Essentially, they just really prevent. Actually, not you guys. But after the long walk into open space, you realize this is the first time you've actually been in this chamber alone with the Cetus ever. And in fact, as soon as you approach the tank, it begins to twirl and fans out its tendrils inside of the tank. And you're only because you know it's there, you can kind of mentally recognize the shape that you're seeing there, just because it's really dark inside the tank, and of course there's a lot of light in this room anyway. But because you kind of know the general shape of this creature, you can kind of picture it in your mind of what it's doing, but it's basically spinning in circles and reacting to you being there. And immediately, fuck, I'm gonna need that anyways. Damn it. All right, hang on 1 second, guys. But basically, it's kind of spinning around and reacting to you. While I'm grabbing this, you guys doing anything in particular?
I just might kind of whisper a few things to her, kind of planning out some stuff.
Anything in particular, or?
I'm going to say if there's only 1 guard in here, you can probably kind of do the whole gas leak trick. Just follow my lead if that's the case.
So Peter has only been up here once or twice. Once for the inoculation, I'm not sure if a second time. But Navarre, you know that at least usually there isn't anybody up here at the tanks except for Sebastian most of the time. And you don't see him right now.
Okay.
But as you guys are approaching, though, it immediately begins to sing a refrain of its little song. And this is the kind of, it seems to play this often when you're around. You don't necessarily know if it doesn't, because you're not here when you're not here, obviously, so you don't know if it sings this normally, but he tends to sing this a lot, at least as far as you are aware. So what are you doing? You're now basically, the 2 of you are now standing there, and it's singing this, it's kind of, this. Hopefully this isn't too loud, but you guys can hear this okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. So basically it's kind of twirling there, and then it kind of holds itself still, and it's kind of, it doesn't have eyes, but you kind of get the feeling that it's looking at the 2 of you standing there. What are you doing?
Can I walk up to the tank and, like, put my hand up?
Put your hand on the glass?
Yeah.
Okay. It immediately snaps a tendril out and splays it open like fingers on the opposite side of the glass.
Can I walk up and do the same?
Sure. You go up and you touch the glass, and it snaps a different tendril over and kind of opens it up again like fingers. Basically, these tendrils split open into 5 kind of finger-like appendages, and you see that there's a small thing. You can't quite tell what it is, but you hear it clink against the glass when that's in the center of this, between those splayed fingers, and it kind of puts its hand essentially up to yours. And it twirls around again, and it sings another refrain of its song, and then it takes one of its tendrils, and it kind of like, it's kind of one of the other tendrils that moves over close enough to the glass that you can see through the darkness, and it's kind of keeps kind of pointing upward, essentially, like it's pointing at the top of the tank. And then with another one of the tendrils, it kind of snakes over towards between the 2 of you, and it kind of keeps snapping it back towards itself.
Is there any way to get to the top of the tank?
You look over to the side, there is a ladder. There's the spigot and the little pass-through thing where Sebastian normally gives it the notes and the music that it feeds to it. Peter may not know that. Peter would know this, but Sako may not know this. they feed this, the Cetus. Cetus is this name. The Dellin's Cap is the creature, what it's called, but Cetus is its name. That is its name. Anyways, they feed it knowledge, and generally that comes in this case because Sebastian is a musician. He writes songs and then feeds it to this jellyfish, and the jellyfish eats it. But as soon as it does, it disappears from all knowledge except for people that are inoculated. So you guys would still know the song that he gives to it, but the world below would forget about it because it erases it from knowledge that way. Did you know that, Sako, or is that something that I didn't make clear when I was first kind of doing your initial session? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember I think it was writing something down on a note, and it puts it inside the Dellin's Cap, and you just forget it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's exactly it. I just wanted to make sure that I had told you that before. I didn't want that to be new, because that could become relevant at some point. Anyway, sorry. For Navarre, yeah, you do see that there's a ladder on the side.
Probably gonna do something stupid. Can I climb up there?
Alright, Sako, you gonna keep watch while Navarre jumps into the tank?
Yeah, but I'm gonna start looking for a piece of paper and a pen.
Okay. Roll an investigation for Peter, and Navarre. You see the ladder. You kind of there's nothing dangerous about this. It's intended for this, so there's no roll needed. You kind of carefully ascend to the top of the ladder. From above, you're at the top of the tank now. You can see that Cetus has drifted off to one side of the tank, sort of giving you room to hop in. And you can see that there's basically that's presumably what he wanted you to do. At least that he's moved out of the way to let you do that. Peter, there's a desk off to the side. And you do see that there's a pen and paper all over the place on this thing. It looks like Sebastian usually sits here to write his music. What are you guys doing?
Well, I guess I'll just give myself gills with my 1,000 forms and jump in the tank.
Okay. You basically just got that. That's cool. That, you get to use it so usefully right off the bat there. So you kind of concentrate for a moment. You kind of stretch your neck a little bit. You feel these kind of air holes begin to open in the sides of your neck, and it's a very strange feeling to begin breathing through your neck instead of through your nose and your mouth. But sure enough, with just a small bit of concentration, you're able to kind of make that so that you can presumably breathe in the water here. And you kind of hop over the edge and slowly begin to drift down into this cloying kind of viscous liquid. It's slightly thicker than water, so you're sinking into like a dark blue syrup. It's thin. It's not really thick. It's not jelly, but it's definitely thicker than water. And as your eyes begin to pass under the surface, you have this odd sensation of blinking away this liquid, like you would like when you first dive underwater. But the liquid doesn't sting. It doesn't hurt your eyes or your skin at all. It just feels like you're floating in a gravity that's slightly higher than you're used to. As you kind of begin to sink in, down below the surface there, your hair kind of splays out in all directions. Your limbs and your gear kind of want to float in the equilibrium, like you have to almost like hold them down to keep your arms from just floating back up to the surface. But you kind of carefully lower yourself down to where your eyes are at level with Cetus' swirling kind of galaxy jelly cap. Remember that the jelly cap of this jellyfish has these constant swirling of stars and galaxy shape inside of it. But now you're kind of floating in there with it. Peter, what are you doing?
Question here. Does Peter and Navarra actually know how the formatting works on the paper? Does it have to be a song? What is written on the pages? Is there a certain format that's needed to feed it to Cetus?
So, Peter, I would say actually specifically because you were doing R&D, are definitely, if you're familiar with that it absorbs knowledge and removes it from the world for people that have not been inoculated. The format of the reports that you personally have created to feed back to it have not necessarily had to follow any particular layout or format or anything of that sort. It's basically just been, you have the, a report is the same as anything else, and anything that's fed back to it. It doesn't necessarily forget the verbiage. It forgets, remove the verbiage. Like if you have the word "and" in there, it doesn't make the word forget the word "and," but it does remove the intent, you would say. So, for example, a personnel report being fed back to it, like for Captain Bain, who was, before Peter was a field agent, there was a bad guy. There was a guy that worked for the college that was corrupted by, I think it was the Vinelash, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. and Captain Bane tried to poison them to steal the Vine Lash. And so they fed his personnel report, Captain Bane's personnel report, to Cetus, and he absorbed it, and Captain Bane was erased essentially from the planet below. So no particular format seems to be necessary. Music just tends to be maybe what you don't have any way to know this, but maybe you kind of feel on a certain level that maybe certain knowledge tastes better in a way to this alien creature. So maybe music tastes better than a personnel report. French fries versus a raw potato, something like that. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But you'd have to be inoculated to be able to get that problem, to get that memory erased. Or not inoculated, sorry.
Yeah, you'd have to not be inoculated to have that information deleted, yes, which you guys have all been inoculated. So there's nothing you could feed to Cetus that would remove it from your memory, if that's what you're asking. But while you're kind of puzzling this out and looking at it, Nivara, you're kind of now at head level, essentially. This creature is much, much larger than the tank. Is 25 feet tall. You're floating just below the surface, looking at the giant jelly cap, which is probably 8 feet across, and all these tendrils are hanging down from it. And then it slowly, very cautiously, snakes a single tendril out. In fact, it was the same one that was kind of held up against the glass earlier, that you were kind of holding on the other side of the hand for. But it snakes this tendril out, starting to kind of reach towards you. What are you doing?
I guess just reach for him with my hand.
Okay. The tendril swims back and forth, kind of serpentine-like, through the water. It moves past your hand and actually bumps against your arm a little bit. It feels sharp, almost, like the way that shark skin has kind of an abrasive touch to it. It doesn't look like it was trying to hurt you in any way. It doesn't really hurt. It's just vaguely uncomfortable. But it kind of bumps against your arm, not really on purpose necessarily, but it just snakes right past your hand until the tip of this tendril, still solid, it's not splayed out yet, is pointing at your forehead specifically. And then ever so slowly and carefully that tendril splits open like a splayed hand with these 5-finger-like protrusions splitting away from this central edifice that resembles, now that you're up close, you can see that it looks like it's a tooth that's in the center of these tendrils. The protrusions begin to slowly kind of wrap themselves around the top of your head, kind of like a facehugger from Aliens, and begins kind of pulling you in through this viscous water until the tooth is pressing against your forehead. Are you reacting? Are you doing anything?
Do I feel like he's trying to hurt me at all?
You
That won't sound like a
roll an animal handling check, actually. I mean, there's no alien handling check, so I'm just we're gonna have to use animal handling in its place.
Do we know if Cetus knows ball and good?
It knows ball and good and rape. That's from Aquatine Hunger Force, guys. Hand banana. You definitely feel like this creature is wholly capable of harming you or killing you easily, but you feel no pain and you don't feel any threat from it. In fact, you almost feel like it's sorry somehow, like it means you no harm, but this is necessary for it to be able to communicate with you.
Alright, well then I guess I'll just let him do whatever he needs to do.
Okay. Alright, so you're just holding yourself perfectly still then. You feel the tooth ever so slightly pierce the skin on your forehead, and there's a flood of something being injected into your brain. Make a wisdom save. You'll need to beat a 10.
Damn. Oh, yes.
Okay, you're still okay. Only because you have such high wisdom. With, I guess it was a total of a 13, so rolling a shitty 4 is still enough. You immediately have the urge to panic, but you kind of suppress it. You kind of hold it down because you feel something positive and comforting coming from this creature. So even though this would be a very scary situation, you're kind of just forcing yourself to stay calm. And as this unknown venom is injected between your eyes, you're being shown a memory as it's spreading through your brain, and you immediately know that it's not your memory. You're seeing a memory, and you know that what you're seeing is from the perspective of this Dallin Cap that you've come to call Cetus. Your eyes kind of begin to fade out, and through you're looking at this kind of swirling galaxy of the jellycap here. As you're looking into that, it begins to kind of have this almost portally shape in the middle of it, and you're looking through that like a window. And what you're seeing is in a dark place. You're seeing this memory of Cetus here in a dark place that's filled with this twinkling crystal, and that's sort of just casting these dancing lights all over the walls. And the crystals are twinkling and causing shadows everywhere. And it's the wall of a cave. You're inside a cave, but it feels, because you're feeling what Cetus is feeling in this memory, it feels like home. And you know that because there are other Delans Cap here too. And they're varying sizes with sort of, like, you know how Cetus has that spiral galaxy of lights inside it. There are other Delans Cap here that have different patterns of lights rotating inside of their gelatinous bodies, and you feel safe here. There's no water. They're floating off of the ground. Their tentacles aren't rushing off of the dirt or anything, but they're floating up off of the ground inside this cave. But you just know that these other Delans Cap have been communicating stories about a storm that is coming to doom this place, that will doom all of the safety here. And so they've been working to build up their defenses and shut this world out because they're sort of isolating themselves from this coming storm, and they really don't have any interest in entertaining these visitors that have come to these visitors that have shown up, who are groundwalkers. And these visitors have shown up in these brilliant gray jackets, and they're suddenly, as soon as you see this, as soon as you're talking, the Delans Cap are talking amongst themselves about these visitors, and you're seeing pictures of these visitors that have come in these gray coats. Suddenly, the vision goes static, and Cetus sort of pulls away, and the fingers wrapped around your head snap off, and the tooth kind of pulls back, and he kind of pulls away from you in shock. What do you do?
Is he like doing anything? Like, does he seem agitated at all?
He seemed scared, and just from that animal handling roll, we'll give you that portion of that. He seemed scared. The tentacle is still kind of in front of you, and still splayed out and everything. He just kind of like he got spooked for a second and backed off a little bit. He's only probably a foot away from you now. The tentacle.
Okay, if I try to reach out and touch him, does he like recoil back?
He does not recoil. He seems just kind of scared, he's like worried. But after a moment, though, actually, Peter, are you doing anything with this while she's doing this? You're looking up and seeing this thing kind of, like facehugger style. What was the brain bug from Starship Troopers? Kind of like that. Like, it looks like this thing poked her in the forehead. It doesn't look like it's drawing her brains out of it, but you are watching this creature, like, kind of, stabbing her with a tooth in the face.
Nice. I was just kind of watching. I'm still trying to think of what I can write down, to be honest.
Okay. All right, then. So, while you're sitting there kind of looking at this paper and looking up at what's happening here, which is a very strange, obviously, vision to be seeing anyways, for Navarre there, it reaches a tendril, that same tendril kind of pushes it back towards you again, touches you on the forehead again, and you're pulled back into another vision. And you're seeing one of its memories again, and you are beside one of these gray coats, and you're sprinting like you're seeing Cetus. You're seeing through Cetus's eyes, for lack of a better term, but they don't see through eyes. They see all directions at once. This is very disorienting, but you're seeing 360 degrees all the way around you, and there's a gray-coated man running right beside you, sprinting as fast as he can, and you're floating alongside him, alongside this man, and sprinting towards this great silver ship, this massive giant silver boat that is starting to lift upwards out of the water where it's docked. It's docked in a little bay, and it's starting to lift up out of the water, and you're both kind of sprinting forward as fast as you can. Again, Cetus, of course, is floating. It's not, the tendrils aren't touching the ground. But suddenly the vision goes to static again, and Cetus kind of retreats again. It seems like he's scared that he can't show you this vision. I'll tell you what, I'll put it this way. Do you have any questions for the Delan Cap? I mean, I realize that Cetus is like revealing these things to you, but does Navarre have any questions that she wants to try to answer or anything like that? I mean, this is probably your best chance to get answers, basically. So you may want to make good use of it.
Well, I'm assuming that essentially they came from another planet.
You've definitely intuited that much for sure. Yeah, they don't appear to be natural to this planet at all.
It sounds like the Greycoats invaded their planet, right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, because he was on his planet.
Yeah.
The memory you saw was definitely not of a. Let's say that the environment that you saw in those 360 degrees as it was running out of the cave towards the ship was definitely not a natural environment that you've been familiar with. It definitely looked alien for sure.
Is there anything he can tell me about the gray coats? Since, I mean, obviously he was running next to one, so I would assume that they were friendly, at least.
So before you could ask it questions, you'll need a... so simple language, of course, is that two people have to be able to speak the same language to be able to communicate, right? You don't share a language with this creature. It doesn't mean that you can't necessarily communicate, but you'll need a way to do so. So what are you trying there? It doesn't understand your words. Rather, you don't understand its words. It doesn't. You don't necessarily know whether it understands yours or not.
Let's see. I can't actually use, like, the communicate with animals or whatever. That wouldn't work, would it?
In this case, I'll tell you definitely not. Normally I would allow you to. It's just specifically in this particular case, I mean, that would be a natural world thing, and this is not your natural world. This creature's not of your natural world.
Do you have to be touching it for it to understand you?
Try touching
It's up to you.
the actual, like, head part of the Devil's Cap, I guess.
Okay, you're gonna try to. It's a ways. You'll have to kind of swim toward it. But you're gonna try to touch the cap.
Yeah.
Okay. As you kind of make your way up to it, and you begin to kind of reach out towards it, you feel the density of the water, for lack of a better term, get thicker and thicker before you even get to the cap. There's something surrounding the cap that is denser than the surrounding water, meaning that you feel like, even though you don't see, it doesn't look like your hand is touching the cap yet, your hand is inside of its head. It's just not visible in the water. And as soon as your fingers begin to sink into that, it kind of shrinks itself away, and the cap flashes bright white light twice. So that all of the kind of stars and it kind of brighten and then dim and then brighten again. It does it twice, and then backs itself away a little bit. The tentacle's still out towards you.
Right, can I, like, grasp the tentacle?
Yeah. So you kind of reach out towards it. It definitely feels very sharp in your hand. Like if it was to yank its tentacle away quickly, it would definitely leave you bleeding, like shark skin kind of. But it doesn't yank the hand. It doesn't yank the tentacle away.
Oh.
Now, presumably, just to give you a bit of a hint there, I mean, it has ways to react to you, so you could probably communicate. It appears that it can understand you. You don't necessarily know that for sure, but you do kind of have that impression. But you could probably get it to be able to answer back to you without language. It could probably answer back to you in, like, yes or no kind of questions, like maybe flash once for yes, flash twice for no, or tap on the left for right, or left for a yes, right on for a no, things like that.
All right. And I guess just ask it if the gray coats are good. Like, are they on our side?
So it feels like, it looks like it's thinking for a second, the tentacle that's out towards you is kind of carefully meandering itself back and forth in the water. It doesn't know how to answer you. You do feel like it understood your question. It doesn't know how to answer whether that's a yes or a no. It doesn't know necessarily.
Oh, did the storm go to his planet? I'm assuming that's probably why they ran away.
The cap, the jelly cap, flashes a bright white light once, which you've taken to mean yes.
Did it?
And in fact, actually, after you ask that and it flashes for a second, it looks like it's thinking again, and then you feel that same sense of, like, kind of sorrow, except this time it feels slightly different. It feels like sadness coming from it, and then it reaches that tentacle back out towards you and touches you on the forehead again. Did you resist or did you let it?
No, I'll just let it.
Okay. It kind of snakes a tendril out again, and you feel the tooth hit your forehead just slightly, and it tries to show you that exact same scene of it being taken towards that silver ship. But this time, in this memory, which again you can only see a few seconds of before it sort of static out, you see that the sky is just pitch black. There's no stars, no galaxies, there's nothing. There's just nothing happening in the sky at all. And then you also see something kind of horrifying. You see that it looks like there are these giant black pillars of tar that are just falling out of the sky and smashing into the world. And every place that they smash into, they explode. Kind of like a volcano in reverse. It's like a volcano coming down from the sky, like a chute of lava coming down from the sky that is hitting the ground and then just boiling over it and covering everything in this black tar. It's just falling out of the sky, smashing into the world. You realize that you're sprinting towards this ship, and then the vision goes static again, and it pulls back from you.
Okay. Can the gray coat stop it?
It sits there idly, kind of moving that tendril back and forth like it doesn't know how to answer you.
Did any other Dellen's cat make it off of his planet?
Roll a perception check. The cat flashes twice for no.
It's gotta be a yes or no question. Should I trust the gray coat?
That question might require some subtlety. It spins carefully, just kind of slowly, and then it flashes once, and then a pause, and then once again, and then once again. So it said yes and no. And then it actually begins to spin around, kind of excited, like it has an idea. This whole time it seemed like it's trying to tell you something but doesn't know how, and because it keeps staticking out, so he can't tell you what he wants to because you can't understand it. So it spins around like he's all excited again, like he did when you first came into the room, like it has an idea, and then it reaches out and it touches your forehead again, and you see what looks like a galaxy. You see this big scene, but it really quickly statics out, and then he kind of pushes a little bit harder, and you feel the tooth kind of jabbing into your forehead a little bit, and then it tries again, but this time the galaxy, this vision, it looks more rudimentary, like it's like a 3D animation or something, like a shitty 3D animation, and then that statics out. And it keeps trying this over and over again, but every time it does, the vision becomes more and more abstract, and finally it shows you a vision that you can see all of without any static, but it's so been abstracted down to the point of looking like a child's drawing. It looks like it's drawn in crayon almost, and it looks like crayons of these abstract shapes, and these shapes seem to tell a story that you can see all of without being interrupted by the static. You see 12 circles, all of different colors, and they're arranged in a larger circle, and they're rotating in perfect harmony with each other, and they continue this orbit for a few seconds, and then you see this bright white circle of light that sort of flies in and lands in the middle of this whole dance. And for a moment, these 12 multicolored circles are rotating a bit faster with more complex rhythms, kind of spiraling in and out like a dance, in this beautiful choreography. All the while, this white light is at the center of it, and during this movement, this frenzied kind of dance around it, another shape appears, and it's a huge black circle that slowly begins to envelop everything that you're seeing there. And it's just, again, this is a very rudimentary drawing that you're seeing, so you're not necessarily understanding quite what it's inferring, but this black circle keeps growing larger and larger with each circle, which each of the other colored circles that it consumes, it gets bigger and bigger, and then it's just that big black circle, all menacing and stationary. But then the small white light shoots out of the mass, that tiny white light that was at the middle, it shoots out of the blackness, out of the side, and flies away, and then that black circle slowly moves in pursuit, like it's chasing the white light. And then you see that same circle again, the spinning circles, the white light arrives in another set of colored discs, and those spinning circles begin coming around, and the black light shows back up, devours all of it over and over again. It keeps happening. It does this 4 or 5 times. And it just keeps kind of repeating this, and then he backs away. Like he's got, giving you a chance to ask more questions.
So I have a theory from something that you had mentioned before. Are Ketis, Peter, and I one of those circles? Like, are we each one of the individual 12 circles?
It doesn't even like take a pause here. It immediately flashes twice for no.
Does it know what the circles are? Or who they are? I'm assuming actual people.
So in answer, as soon as you said does it know, or you say as soon as you think to it, do you know, it flashes once for yes, and then you say who these people are, and it flashes 2 for no.
Okay, are the 12 circles the Eagerling?
It flashes I would say, yeah, it flashes twice for no.
Okay. So the 12
There's
circles...
some hesitation there, and then he flashes twice for no.
So the 12 circles are not people, but they're things. But they're not the Eagerling.
It again flashes twice for no. Peter, what are you doing?
Well, I'm watching her communicate back and forth, so I'm getting kind of curious as to what's going on in there. So I'm going to kind of walk towards the Downs cap, put my hands on the thing, see if I can see what's going on.
Okay. Even though it is obviously communicating with Nivara, it reacts to you moving closer to the tank, and as soon as you come over and put your hand on the glass, it sends a different. It doesn't move. The cap stays facing the same direction, if that makes sense. There's no eyes out of the cap. There's no front or back or anything. It's just it's just one solid thing, just like a jellyfish. But one of the tendrils does snake back over as soon as you're there and splay open against the tank right by you.
If I make a move up towards the top and put my hand in the water, can I see what the Downs cap does?
Sure. So you kind of climb up the ladder and make your way up there. As soon as you are kind of climbing the ladder, you see that the tendril is following you. It's kind of closed itself back up, but it's kind of following you up the ladder. And as soon as you get up to the top and go to put your hand in, it kind of splays its fingers out, and the tips of the kind of split part of the tentacle touch your fingertips with its 5. The tooth isn't touching. You do see that there's a tooth in there, though.
Am I able to gently, give a handshake, up against the tentacle and the tooth?
A handshake in the sense of like intertwining the fingers or something?
Hand to hand pressing up against it.
Okay. You can it doesn't pull away or anything, but the tentacles feel exactly like what I described for Nivara. That they feel very sharp, almost like a very bladed kind of a sandpaper. And even where you're kind of moving your fingers over, you got to be careful just so that you're not end up pulling off your own skin. But it doesn't pull away. It just kind of keeps it's moving the fingers around the tips of these tentacles around your hand. It is kind of keeping the tooth back, trying to be careful, like it's trying not to jab you with it, kind of thing.
All right. Since I kind of see what's going on in the tank from the outside, I can't breathe underwater, but I'll jump in the tank gently and just stay kind of towards the surface of the water, but enough for the tentacle to reach me in case he wants to do the same thing.
Okay. So Nivara altered herself to not have all of her gear, presumably anyways, soaked. You're going to be covered in, this thick blue liquid when you leave, if you're going to jump all the way in.
I gotcha. Well, then I will gracefully take off what's needed and just go down to my basics.
All right, so you're hopping in the tank too?
Yeah, but I'm not going to go deep. I'm just going to go just so I'm slightly covered over the head and I can still pop up for air.
Okay. So yeah, you hop in, and the light in here, once you're kind of are down below enough to be able to see, is a brilliant white light in here, just from the light from the cap. It's dimmed a bit in the rest of the chamber because of the dark blue liquid that's surrounding it. But you see basically just on the other side where Nivara is, 45 degrees off to your left, where this is still kind of the splayed vision thing where the tooth is kind of against her forehead. But you're basically seeing that. laptop almost fell asleep. Anyway, the tentacle that's by you is kind of just kind of carefully meandering around you, that kind of thing. That it almost feels, you're getting the sense that it almost feels like it doesn't get a lot of personal interaction. You know what I mean? So it feels like this is a novel thing for it almost. But you're kind of in there interacting with it. Back for Navarre, for like any more questions or anything you might have for it.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out. Are the gray coats the black circle or whatever that it showed?
It flashes twice for no. And immediate. So Peter, because you're not adapted to this, especially not yet. It is blinding to you because you're right on the other side of it, and like you actually kind of bring a hand up to kind of cover your eyes for a second. It's so bright.
Are they the white light?
It flashes once, and then a pause, and then twice. It's like a kind of. Or that it doesn't know how to answer. You get the sense that it feels almost frustrated, like that it's wants to be able to communicate this with you, but for some reason it statics out when it tries, so it had to show you like a super rudimentary version of it, and it can't really explain it any other way. And you guys have actually been in here for a while. You're probably getting close to it. You probably have enough time for maybe one or two more questions, and then you need to probably make your way out before Sebastian shows back up.
Peter, have any questions?
Would I be able to communicate with this?
I mean, it would need to do the similar injection thing to you. It can't hear you right now because you can't speak underwater or anything. But you could presumably, hop up enough to get your head out of the water and then try to talk to it. Or if you hopped up enough to get out of the water and then used your stone to tell Navarra, she could ask it something like that. You can't speak underwater while she can.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I'll do that, then I'll use a stone.
Okay. So you kind of breach the surface, put your head out over it. You kind of have to, wipe the stuff off of your mouth to be able to say it. And then what are you telling her?
Well, obviously watching, it kind of looks like they're communicating, so I'm going to assume that they're talking. I'm going to ask Navarra to ask it, are we safe?
You do that, Navarra?
Yeah.
It immediately flashes twice no.
Yeah, not even at the college office.
You don't necessarily know the scope, He might mean on a cosmic sense or something like that. You don't know. But
Are we going to die someday? The answer is yes.
For sure.
Is this danger? Ask if this danger is located here in this college.
It doesn't know how to answer. One more.
Sorry, I'm just thinking here for a sec.
Good, Sokka, no problem.
Will we find the answers with the was the principal, the director?
Clarify the question. Will we find the answers with the director? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Does the answer lie with the director?
The answer to what?
I'm sorry. Is our safety reliant on the director?
It flashes once for yes.
okay with that. Obviously, Navarra and I kind of get that. I'll communicate that back to Navarra.
Sure.
That's kind of a big deal if you think about that.
But you are coming close on time, and in fact, you guys are starting to hear. That's too far away. Let's just say that you've intuited though that Sebastian's probably on his way back.
All right, I'm gonna jump out, put my clothes back on, make sure everything looks normal.
Except for you're dripping this blue liquid everywhere you walk. Actually, you got prestidigitation, don't you?
Yeah. So I'll just create a prestidigitation air dryer and walk through it.
All right. So you, Navar, what are you doing?
Like, I guess getting out of the tank. I don't want to get caught in there. So.
Okay. So as because you were a little bit further over, Peter kind of climbs up over the edge and carefully dries himself off, puts his clothes back on, starts climbing down the ladder. As you're kind of making your way over towards the ladder, like you see the tendrils, the same tentacle it was using is like following you, like it doesn't want you to leave. You get a severe sense of like just an incredibly deep sense of loneliness coming from it. But you're kind of carefully climbing yourself out of the tank, leaving this creature so that you can kind of recover a bit. And as you start to kind of make your way down, and getting like you guys are about to leave, dress back up, all that stuff, you start to walk towards the exit, and Cetus slams against the wall of its tank right in front of you. Like as you're turned away already, but you hear it slam. It does it so loudly, and it's kind of scary actually. And it sings more another refrain from its song. Oh, that's the one I meant to do earlier. Oops. Kind of loud, huh? It sings another refrain from its song, just the same song that it's always sings when you're around. And as you start to kind of move though, where it slams against the tank, it's just super loud, a little bit scary, and it sounds panicked. It sounds like it wants something from you desperately, and it's just the singing over and over again. It's loud and it's kind of echoing throughout this chamber here. And it motions towards that small desk in the back of the room where Peter was, with one of its tendrils. And it's just pointing towards that same desk over and over again.
Well, I guess.
Does it want us to feed something to it, or does he want us to destroy it? As far as we know, the paper and pen have no magical properties. It's just a note, right?
Yeah, you were holding them, and they didn't appear to have any magical properties to them. But you did notice while you were sitting there, you were a little distracted watching Navarra in the tank with Cetus, so you didn't necessarily look thoroughly at what was on the desk. But you did notice that there was multiple scrolls of writing and things like that on the desk while you were sitting there. You just didn't read through them or anything.
I'll take a quick moment to kind of quickly browse through them real fast, whatever is on the desk.
All right, so it's just that small desk that Sebastian has set up. That sure enough he has a bunch of compositions on, and Cetus is just pointing at this. Just won't stop. He just looks panicked and scared that you're about to leave, and he hasn't been able to communicate whatever he was trying to communicate to you. And almost like you see this almost like comically small scroll that Sebastian has titled "The Void Fish's Lament."
Sounds like a party. Let's check it out.
Let's see. All right, so I should have confirmed this at some point before, but I didn't, so it's a little late. So you're just going to both have to give me an honest answer. Don't cheat here. Be true to your characters. Do either Navar or Peter have any musical background?
Actually, let me check my notes.
I'm not actually sure that I would.
I mean, Navarra maybe could have, in like a sense of, the Elvish family,
Well, I
playing
was the
songs,
one
kind
that
of stuff.
played the flute when we were back in
Yeah.
Dragulture, whatever
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
That
you did. That's true.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
I do some breakdancing, but that's about it. So,
Some breakdancing.
that's about it.
Tell you what, so what you're looking at when you kind of unroll this scroll out and look at it is you're looking at bars. It looks like sheet music. Looks simple. In fact, you only see 7 notes, and it's just repeated over and over again. And it's what the Voidfish is playing right now, which means that at some point, what Cetus was playing now, is at some point he played this or sang this song, and Sebastian wrote it down. Because it's what you're hearing 7 notes and you're looking at what sounds like the same thing. But the important bit of it You know what? Let's do it like this. Both of you make a flat intelligence roll. I'd say, you know what, actually, Navarro, make yours a wisdom roll, Peter an intelligence roll.
Just a wisdom check.
Yeah, a plain wisdom check for Navarro and a plain intelligence check for Peter. Peter's actually will do. He rolled a 12 plus 5, so 17. Peter, in looking at this, neither of you can read sheet music. You know, in looking at this, like you may have an innate kind of affinity for music, but you don't necessarily know how to read sheet music. But Peter, for some reason, there's just something in the back of your mind that looking at this, you're thinking like this is a language like any other. You can read. You have an ability called Third Eye that will let you comprehend languages. Presumably, maybe if there's something here, you know could kind of use that, look at and read this, and see if you can decipher what this might mean.
On the desk, is there some type of a key or something for not so much a coded language, but notes to English kind of thing?
No, only because sheet music. I mean, it's the same way that would be like asking, does somebody put like a key for how to read English on their desk, bookshelves or something. But Peter specifically has an ability called Third Eye. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So in Third Eye, one of the things is greater comprehension. You can read in any language. So I'm making it a little bit of a stretch in that music is a language, in that you're reading sheet music, which is essentially just a coded version of that language. So presumably you could use that if you wanted to. Fast into your capacity or short or long rest. So you get it back in a short rest anyways, but you could use that to read the language shown here if you wanted to.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read it.
Okay. All right, so you kind of close your eyes and just kind of in your mind picture what kind of photographic memory basically of looking at this page, and then in your mind begin to translate what these things mean. And you see this sheet music for the Void Fish's Lament, and it's not an especially difficult song to play. It's only those 7 notes, all arranged into a staff of 2 different phrases. And you see this sheet music, and you kind of play it out in your head, and it echoes this tune that you're hearing Sita sing over and over again. And he's still panicked, and he's still kind of tapping at that glass right in front of you, and you kind of have to like shut that out because it's almost distracting. And it's been a while since you've looked at any sheet music or anything like that, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to you initially. But when you are looking over this, it looks like tablature essentially, and you're looking over this composition like letter by letter. And when you read it like that, instead of like a song, when you just read it like letter by letter, the notes that you're reading are E, G, G, and then a rest, and then B, A, B, E. Those are musical notes, like, the note E, and the note G, and the note B, and the note A, and E, and so on. Does that make sense?
Okay, so this isn't a reference to Daenerys.
No. What do you do?
Okay. Can I make any further sense of this? Or do I see any other scrolls with other music written on it?
There are others. Cetus is not reacting to anything else. He's just pointing at this, that you got it, and it's trying to tell you something about what you picked up.
Do they have like a baby Dellen's cap or something? Is that what this is?
Well,
this thing missing its child?
Cetus isn't here.
I know I'm not there, so I can't really. Yeah. So.
But tell you what, so presumably Navarra and or Peter would have kind of maybe put those things together just here in this chamber anyways. So Peter specifically, as soon as you have that realization, as soon as you kind of think that in your mind, in a room that you're not in a room that you've never been in, something reacts to you. In fact, I'll even say that maybe you say that out loud, that the two of you kind of say that like egg, like you read EGGBABE out loud to Navarra. And when you say that, something reacts to that in this Stellan Scap chamber. From that third eye that you still have open, actually, somewhere in the distance you see a bright, quick flash, and a small, quiet alarm bell rings in a room somewhere else in the college. And there is definitely someone coming up the stairs, or up the ladder, or goddamn it, elevator. What are you guys doing?
Should probably get out of there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to book it.
GTFO.
Yeah, GTFO.
All right. So you guys make your way out. You are the elevator was already coming up, but you kind of are just standing with the guards, and Sebastian steps out through the doorway. He's already stepping out, or beginning to step out, eyes down like he's just returning to work, and kind of is shocked for a second, kind of startles himself, and he stands and looks at you guys. Says, Peter, Navarro, what can I do for you?
Oh, yeah, I was just coming up to see the Dellens cap and everything. Had some extra time.
Yeah, we just came up to check out the Dellens cap and visit you for a moment, but we're on our way out because of that weird smell, that weird leak. And obviously I did that prestidigitation, and it smells like there's some sulfur and crop dusting in the hallway, so it's a very foul smell.
You sure you don't want to throw out a jar of bees somehow?
Not at this moment. I'm saving that for something important. But yeah, we're just stopping by to see you guys, but something smells kind of weird. We're just on our way out.
He says, "Oh yeah, Cetus does that sometimes. I don't know, some kind of space fart or something. I don't know." But he just kind of waves you guys on. He says, "Oh well, hope to see you guys again soon. It gets a little lonely up here, so anytime you want to see the Dellens cap, just let me know." And he kind of makes his way off and starts walking that long track back towards the tanks.
All right, you got it. Thank you very much.
All right, so you guys head on down then. Do you gotta recoup and go over everything you guys learned?
Yeah, we're gonna recap everything.
Okay. Ango kind of meets back up with you guys as well, and he's jotting everything that you guys have said down. He's jotting all of it down in his little notebook, and he says, "All right, guys. I'm gonna do what I can to try to figure out what's going on here. So, thanks for your help with these little investigations. I'll keep you posted. I'll be back in the library. So just call out if you guys need something. But let me know if you hear anything else. Okay."
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Later in the day, usually the interlude chapters like this too, Sako, are a little more interstitial. There's kind of smaller scenes kind of thrown together kind of thing, whereas regular sessions when you're down on the planet, that kind of stuff, you guys have a little more do whatever you want type of thing. But just to kind of keep the things moving here before we get too long in. Later in the day, after your guys' excursions there, Ketis, Ophelia chirped in your ear that she needed to talk with the three of you, with you, Navarro, and Peter, at some point tonight. So where are you guys gathering? Where like she needed to talk to you soon, so where are you guys doing
I don't know, just one of our rooms, I guess, one of our
that? Your
houses.
quarters? Okay.
Yeah, so just whichever room, and then we'll just, whenever Peter and Navarro are ready, we'll call her.
Okay. All right. So yeah, remember, other people can't see her anyways. The three of you can, which will be important for Peter as well. I don't know that he necessarily realizes this something, but he'll find out soon. But so we'll just say that you guys are gathering in your quarters, Ketis' quarters. What are you guys doing? So remember, she's just a spectral raven sitting on your shoulder most of the time. She's there now. That's why she chirped it in your ear. So what are you guys doing? You guys are in Ketis' quarters. What is Navarro? What is Peter? And what is Ketis doing?
I guess I'm just gonna sit down or whatever, and then when he's ready, just tell her that we're ready to talk to her if she's ready for us. So,
Okay.
tell Ophelia.
What's Peter? What's Navarro doing?
I'm trying to remember back what I saw and see if I can figure out where that light was, that thing that got triggered when I said egg babe.
The direction that it was coming from. Roll a flat intelligence check on Peter. Not with that.
It's coming from the universe.
Well, kind of, almost. So you, basically, your eyes were closed and you were seeing this kind of flash in the distance through your third eye, and it was definitely down, but because you were in the Dellens cap chamber, everything was down. I mean, the planet was down. You know what I mean? Because you were up above the moon at that point. But anyway, you couldn't necessarily with that pinpointed. I would say you probably have one more chance of doing that if you wanted to later. Maybe while you're, before falling asleep, how you kind of think over things. Sometimes maybe you'll get another roll then to see if you can kind of pinpoint where that might have been coming from.
Good shower thought.
Yeah, exactly. Something to think over. Maybe you can kind of piece it together at another time.
But didn't Robbie mention when he was having to go through the director's things that she had like a tank in her room or something like that?
Yeah, it was a fish tank. They
He
wanted
did
to get
mention
in
there
the
was a
fish
fish
tank.
tank in there, yeah. And that
Yeah.
whatever was controlling him kept looking at the fish tank.
Maybe
As well
it's
as
in
the
there.
books and everything else. Like the books and the globe. There was a globe in there as well. And whoever was controlling him kept digging through all these things. So,
Yeah, she probably has it sitting in that fish tank in her office.
what is Navarra doing though when you guys are gathering to talk to Ophelia?
I guess just going over my encounter with Cetus.
Just like thinking over it in your head?
Yeah.
Right. Sako, did I ever show you the picture for Cetus?
I think so. Yeah, on our first run.
Okay, cool. All right. I don't have the picture for Ophelia anymore. I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't. But Sako, basically, as you guys are kind of gathering around and waiting for Ophelia, you see it's almost imperceptible for Ketis, but you guys see his left shoulder lift up all of a sudden, as if there was a weight on his shoulder that you guys couldn't see anything from, and like as soon as it disappeared, he almost kind of rights himself, like he just kind of sits off to one side a little bit, like he just gotten used to that weight, and then immediately kind of it missing, even though it's tiny as it is, was enough for him to shift his weight. And as soon as he does, you're gathered around. Ophelia apparates in her strangely garbed humanoid shape, and almost before she's even fully formed, she blurts out, friends, so good to see you with your skin on. Lord Crow has some important questions about that. Well, it seems you've all added pretty significantly to your illegal death count since last we spoke.
Yeah, pretty much. Always do. So.
So what she's referring to is, of course, you guys died a few times when you were in Dry Gulch, and time kept resetting back, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she's referring to. Now, you know what, yeah, we'll do it in narrative here. She says, and your friend Peter here is apparently just as much of an anomaly as you and Red are, Ketis. And looking at Peter, she says, it seems you've got a couple dozen unaccounted for deaths on record as well, and never once checked into Crow's Thicket. What have you to say for yourself, young man?
Apologies, I was unaware of that, and I'll do better.
I don't know that Peter had ever heard this before. I don't remember. Ben, do you remember? Did we ever tell Sako? Well, I guess did Peter ever hear that he's died a bunch of times and doesn't know?
I think so. I think one of the times when Ophelia came to see us, Peter was with us, and she had mentioned, you guys keep eluding me or whatever, that type of stuff to us.
Okay.
Since he's been with us, I'm pretty
I think
sure.
there were some vague hints or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we still don't know the details, of course, but
Okay.
I think she's hinted while he's been with us.
All right, cool. All right, so yeah, for Sako's sake, some of the sessions you were listening to before you actually started playing Sako had interactions with this woman, Ophelia, who is dressed in let's say, in a fashion that hasn't been around for a few hundred years, but it's something you've seen in lots of art and things like that, from a very well-known country that used to be where you're from. Basically, what the country used to be was Vindi, V-I-N-D-I, and that's where Mist is, which is where you're from. But that was from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, at least 500 years ago, and that's how she's dressed. Basically, just think of it like the Greek attire during Roman times, kind of a thing. Like, that's the area that you're from, but she's wearing the kind of fashions that were popular there long before you could have, like before you were born.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
So same region, different time frame.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's from the same, presumably based on her clothes. She's from the same place you are, but from 500 years before. And she works for Lord Crow, who Crow is the god of death. And Ketis does now as well, by the way. Ketis is kind of like an apprentice, basically, to her for the meantime. But anyways, because this is stuff that Ketis and Navarra would have told Peter about, so I'll fill you in a little bit there. Ketis and Navarra were approached by Ophelia here because they had died a bunch of times, and they didn't remember this, but she told them that they died over and over and over again and never came to visit her in Crow's Thicket, which is essentially like a purgatory, place between heaven and hell type of thing. But they've never shown up there. They've died a bunch of times, according to her, but keep evading her. They keep not showing up like they're supposed to. but they don't remember ever dying, of course, and that's what you're being told, is that Peter also has done the same thing, that he's died a bunch of times. You don't ever remember dying. None of that ever happened, as far as you're concerned, but that's what she's telling you. So anyways, that's what she, has filled you in on, and because Kiedis and Navarro were an anomaly, Kiedis made a deal with Crow to try to find those answers, to tell them how he was doing that so the Crow would find out, how he's dying without, both of them are dying, without ever showing up. But more importantly, Kiedis needed protection from somebody else called Odim. Anyways, that's not relevant at the moment. Right now, you're just being told, why do you guys keep dying and not showing up here? Any answer for her?
Well, I think we kind of need to figure that out for ourselves, too.
I'm unsure at the moment.
Yeah. I think that's part of the whole thing that we're trying to figure out here.
She says, well, that's awfully inconsiderate of you, and I expected more courtesy. To be honest, I'm a little hurt, but I suppose I can live with that, as long as, from here on out you guys don't be such jerks, and if you're gonna die, just come say hi, and we'll figure it out. Lord Crow is not, he gets a bad rap, let's say. People think that, that you die and that's it. Some people need a little more leniency than that, and I think you guys could, apply for that kind of leniency. There's just a couple of forms to fill out. You'd be back on your way, no big deal, but we at least need to follow the proper procedures. How's that sound?
I guess so.
Sounds like a
start
plan.
being nice. Yeah. Since I'm working for you and everything, I should probably start being nice. Company player,
Yeah, you can at least do your own paperwork. Don't make her feel
There's
like
no I in team,
She says, all right, well, with that settled, I'll inform Lord Crow. Let's just at least try to keep the dying to a minimum. And she said, could you, as she's middle of that sentence, she stops just mid-sentence. And she just stark like frozen for a second and looks very tense, so all of a sudden super tense. Her form begins to blur slightly. So her form begins to kind of blur slightly, and this black smoke begins to kind of rise up off of her shape. Her eyes start to dart left and right. There's something, or she's kind of looking, not panicked, but certainly very tense. She says, there's something, and then she cuts off again, and as this black smoke begins to expand down her right arm, forming into this massive glaive, kind of a scythe shape, her face sinks away, revealing kind of a skull-like visage, and she grows taller and taller, just beginning to fill this whole room, this whole quarter of Kiedis' quarters here, with this. One sec, dudes. Okay. No, it's just the end of the song. Alright, sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. Everybody good?
Yep.
Alright, so, filling the room with this kind of smoky, morbid vision, she says, it was, no, not the, she says, there's something here. It was in the Miller's lab too. I could feel it. It's dead and it's powerful and it's extremely close. She says, are you harboring some dark spirit, Kiedis? Are you, any of you, or do you have suspicions that you might be some sort of vessel, any of you? And she looks very, again, not panicked, but super tense and ready to kill something very fast if she needs to.
No, not unless Odim's been fucking with me and I don't know it.
Speaking
Or
of,
unless,
roll a perception actually on Kiedis.
okay. Unless it's that gray coat that's been following Navarro.
The Greycoats definitely followed all three of you. It just most recently talked to Navarra because you guys kind of flew out and it didn't have a chance to chase. The 20.
Yeah, we got some lich problems here.
Seriously.
We got a lich infestation.
Better go down to the Earth Cave, get rid of that motherfucker.
Was that an FF1 reference?
Yeah, I said you gotta go down to the Earth Cave and get rid of that motherfucker.
That's some
Let's get
old
this shit
school.
done.
That's good shit. So she's kind of looking around. When you say that though, you kind of just instinctively reach back and kind of put your hand on the hilt for ruin on your back, the sword, and it feels warm to the touch, much more like it feels. In fact, when you touch the handle, it almost feels like a thin electricity coming off of it. Definitely not normal. But she kind of is looking, her eyes kind of gaze over you, the kind of skull, empty eye sockets, gaze over you, and shakes her head a little bit and looks around, and she's just still looking around. She says, I don't think it's that. She says, she turns, she's looking around, she kind of begins to turn her back to you guys, sort of starts to walk towards the doorway, like just looking around still, just looking around for whatever this powerful dead thing is. And Navarra, actually, you feel the tome at your belt beginning to start to rise itself up. It's not controlling you, it's controlling itself. You're not moving this, it's just beginning to kind of float up. And it sort of raises itself up and it kind of slips itself out of the pack at your hip. And as you kind of are reaching your arm out to kind of stop it, and the book flips open, and it immediately is kind of pointed, essentially, for lack of a better term, at Ophelia's back. What do you do? It feels like it's charging a spell, like when it shot the wall in the library.
I guess warn her?
Or try to close it?
Try to grab it? Yeah.
Okay. You snap your hands out to kind of grab it, and you shout to her, and just in time you kind of wrench it away, and the tome fires out a blinding beam of Scorching Ray, the same spell as it did last time, just a crazy high level variation of it. Peter, you recognize this as being above the cap that you are aware is even physically possible. That's how powerful this ray comes out of it. And it just and you kind of yank it away just in time, so that you see this kind of carved beam of flame just burn through the glass dome ceiling of this, because remember, you guys moved to better quarters now, and you just have these nice open glass ceilings, and it just burns a big black mark into the glass of it kind of going up, but it just was only a few feet above Ophelia's head where it started, and just kind of carved into the beam there. Ophelia's shadowy death form, she kind of spins on her heel, she's facing you, Navarra, wide-eyed. She says, what was that?
A book?
She sees you kind of holding this book up like that. She says, I don't understand, what is, that's not, can I see it?
Sure.
Careful.
And you don't see her even move. She's just all of a sudden beside you, kind of, instead of walking in front of it where you could kind of, if you lost control of it, it would be pointed straight back at her, basically. She's kind of just, these shadows just kind of reappear right behind you and off to the side slightly, and she kind of lifts the book up out of your hands, like you don't even really have a chance. She's just too, you get the sense that she could overpower it anyway, so she just lifts it up out of your hands. And she's kind of, she snaps it shut, and she's looking at it with these kind of missing eyes, just this empty eye sockets of this skull. And she says, this is not just a spell book. This is an undead being. This is like a lich or something. It's big and it's powerful, and this is some kind of phylactery. She says, you guys just won't let up, will you? She says, look, I've had a lovely evening, but I need to go think about this. Not even sure if I should tell Lord Crow. What a pickle you guys have me in. She says, she kind of not tosses, but she basically throws the book back at you, not gently, is how I'll put that. Not trying to hurt you, but definitely wants it out of her hands, because you just basically tried to kill her with it, as far as she felt. Or that it was trying to do that, rather, in place of you. But she kind of tosses it back to you, kind of grab it with your arms, and just kind of lands it, and it's a giant book anyway, so you kind of have to use both arms to catch it. She says, see you soon, just please don't get in any more trouble while I'm gone, will you? And then the smoke just disperses, and you guys are alone in the room. What are you doing?
Another brush with death, huh?
Seems like a daily occurrence, right?
Alright, I know you said that my sword seems like it's kind of warm. Well, no, because my sword would be arcane anyway. I was going to say, if Peter looks at it, could he tell if it's arcane? But it already would be anyway.
It's
Just
actually...
thinking there's obviously something up with it.
Because of your pact with Crow, it still would, yeah. It would definitely register as a magic weapon for sure.
Okay. So I guess that wouldn't really help. Then I was just curious because I don't know. Maybe Odim's hiding himself in there somehow, using it to CS or something. I don't know.
Tell me, I guess, what you're trying to do, and then I'll tell you, how you could figure that out. Like, are you asking if he's scrying on you through the sword somehow?
Yeah, could Peter possibly tell if it's being used as a communication device or a spying device, tracking device, something like that?
I don't know.
If that's too broad of a question, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that question is fine. It's just a matter of, I don't know that there probably is a way. Peter, for Sako, do you know if there's a spell, whether you have it or not, that can do that?
Just to determine if it's a cursed item?
Not necessarily if it's cursed, but he's specifically asking if Odim. This will become relevant very soon for Peter too. But Odim was a guy that tricked Ketis into agreeing to a contract. He's a bad guy, a real bad guy. Odim serves Shugni Adramoth, who is the god of chaos. I'll put that name in here.
He's an ascendant, right? Odim is?
Yeah, Odim is an ascended, yeah.
Yeah.
Odim tricked Ketis into agreeing to a contract to work for him, to work for Odim, and he gave Ketis that sword as kind of a tool, basically, to kind of help him in that process and to working for Odim. But what he was supposed to do is Ketis was supposed to go find those Idrilim and give them to Odim, and Ketis didn't do that. He took them and gave them to the college instead. And so Odim has been hunting him ever since. But because Ketis still has that sword, what Ketis is asking is if Odim could be tracing him using that sword. Do you have any way of... I don't know.
I have currently just detect magic, which just detects the presence of, but I think there is something.
It seems like there
flipping
would
through my
be.
books now.
Yeah, it seems like there would be. I just don't know what it would be called. I mean, because scrying is a spell, but that's to look through, basically to look at another place. I don't think it would help at all to identify if something is being used to look at you.
Yeah, I'm flipping through everything right now just to see.
Tell you what, let's do this. Let's take a quick little 5-minute break. And if you want to look through those, if you come up with something great. If not, we'll move on. But we'll just take a quick break, everybody. So good?
Cool.
Yeah.
All right,
Sounds good.
here.
I'm back. I've just been thumbing through all of the spells. I found a few that might help.
Oh yeah. Well, let's do them in narrative.
Mind if I share with you those things I found? Depending on what the item is, obviously. It could be protection from evil and good, level 1 spell. Arcane.
Check here.
See, it's more about protection, but I guess if he's being haunted by this person, cursed by this person.
Can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed.
It's kind of stretching it. I think that's more of
if
an
that
active.
was what was happening, but you don't get the sense that that's what's happening. You don't get the sense that Ketis is being charmed or frightened or anything by or possessed by anything.
If I use Identify, which is an arcane level 1, I choose an object, touch it, cast it. If it's magic, I'll find out. I'll learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement or not.
And it tells you the school, I believe, also, doesn't it?
You learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what spells they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it.
That is probably your best bet, is how I'll say that.
Alright, I'm looking through. I found a few others. Hold on a sec. Arcane Lock, level 2, Abjuration. It talks specifically about doors, but I'm assuming it may be able to be used against an item that could be used as a gateway of some sort, if that's what we're talking about.
In this particular case, I don't think that's going to help.
Alright. Yeah, that seems more like a physical gate or a physical
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, physical
door.
passageway, not any kind of like scrying.
I have a 3rd level abjuration. I can't say this for some reason. Remove curse. You touch it, all curses affecting the creature or object ends if it's a curse. So I'd have to identify the item, see if it's a curse. If it's a curse, remove it.
Yeah, presumably.
And then 2 more, dispel magic. I mean, obviously we know what that's all about. And then also a level 3 called non-detection. For the duration, you hide a target that you touch from divination magic. The target can be a willing creature, blah blah blah, but if we could identify it, find out if he's cursed with some type of a divination, I could do non-detection.
Hours. Or perceive through scrying means. So, yeah, if... start with, I would just say it this way, start with your identification, but either of those, potentially, if you needed to, it's good that you know that you have those tools, is how I'd say that. But yeah, non-detection would prevent, if somebody was scrying on him through, or anybody, that's what you would use for that. And that's actually that's what I was looking for. I didn't remember the name of the spell. I knew there had to be something for it, but that is what you would use to prevent somebody from being able to scry on you. So if you knew that a bad guy was, spying on you guys through some means, then that's what you would use to prevent them from being able to do so for 8 hours.
Nice. I'll have to learn that next long rest. Well, not learn it, but
Yeah.
prepare it.
Yeah. Did I ever go over the creation mythos for you at all? Do you understand, like, did you know who Shug was, for example? Or Crow, or Etch?
No.
Okay. So, since we've got a minute anyways while we're waiting here, the world in general, the only, at least as far as this planet is concerned, really all of them technically, but creation mythos is essentially that there was a one creature, considered a god, but one creature called Ea. Here, I'll put him in here. Called that by the humans, called Anu by the elves, or Anu. In most cases, so humans were not native to this planet. I hear Ben's back, right?
Yep.
Becky's still coming?
Yeah, should be here in a second.
Okay, cool. All right, then I'll keep going for now. The humans are not native to this planet. Humans were brought here by the Ascended. So the Ascended, like Odim, like you met Israfel by 3, remember?
Yeah.
Those are Ascended. Those are like lesser gods. Think of them as that way, essentially. But the Ascended brought humans here from a different planet. The planet that humans came from was wiped out by something, you don't know what, but that was only about 2,000 years ago. So this planet has existed forever, but humans only showed up on it about 2,000 years ago. Well, because humans propagated so quickly and everything, and had these Ascended were essentially protecting them the entire time, they've kind of almost taken over the whole planet. So all of the older races, elves, dwarves, halflings, etc., are all still there, and they have their own cultures and their own religions and things like that, but these Ascended just showed up and kind of helped these humans propagate everywhere and take over so much of it, and that's what's happened here. So anyways, the Ascended are essentially alien gods that came with the humans from another planet, but the only... And the Ascended are not infallible, they're killable. They're just essentially, think of them as essentially alien creatures also that came from elsewhere that are just super powerful, and therefore not all that different from a god anyways, like anybody else would be able to tell the difference, but the actual legitimate gods there's only 4. There was the balanced one. Well, the balanced one, Anu, was a giant crystalline form, essentially, like a tuning fork, like a massive tuning fork, essentially, right? And the different tines of this fork, it was spread out in multiple directions, not just 2, reverberated with a song, and that was where creation came from. But eventually, one part of it, which was Shug, one tine of it, all the individual tines of this giant tuning fork were vibrating with different tonality. So it was supposed to be all in one concordance. It was supposed to be one giant song, and they were all supposed to be kind of in tune with each other. But one fork of this, the one that's Shug, was shaking in the wrong tone on purpose, and eventually, the same way that if you take a crystal or a glass or a tuning fork or anything else and shake it discordantly too much, eventually it shatters, especially this crystalline form. And when it eventually shattered, those shards went flying in all directions, and the 4 largest shards of it are the kind of the primary gods. Shug being the god of chaos. Shug is
Gotcha.
the human name. Shug's the human name. Yadroth is the other race's names.
So Shug Knight broke off and made his own record label.
Yeah, which is what, Death Row or something?
Death Row.
Yeah. And then he hung Vanilla Ice out the window.
Is that true? Did that actually happen?
I think it actually did.
Yep,
I've
that
heard
actually
that,
happened.
I never knew if that was like a legitimate one or if it was just something he...
I think it even came up in court when he was under being sued for whatever, for death row, like not paying the people or whatever the hell it was.
Vanilla Ice was?
No, Sugar Knight.
Suge Knight, okay.
Yeah, because I know he faced some court over death row shit. So
They're both douchebags.
I think Vanilla Ice testified against him or whatever. I think.
Wow,
So-
he's still alive.
Yeah, I guess so. Then he went on the DIY network or whatever, and does that fucking home show
Oh,
now.
I heard about that. Yeah, I've never seen
Yeah.
it. I heard about it.
Yeah, he stopped that immediately after because he was caught stealing lawn furniture from a neighbor's house while he was doing a home, so they stopped that.
Wow. he's got a fucking show where he's stealing patio furniture from a neighbor.
Fucking grabs a lawn and gets busted. It's like O.J. Simpson fucking stealing his own shit and getting right.
Alright, back in game here. So, she has just, Ophelia has just dispersed. You're now sitting in the room. Ruin does feel like it's giving off this kind of dim electricity from it, and it definitely feels warm. What are you guys doing?
Alright, can we think of anyone else at the college that might have a way to check on the sword?
I might be able to do it, but I have to prepare my spells next long rest, so you
Okay.
can kind of hold off and wait, and we can probably do it that way.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Well, I
When
mean,
we
it's
get a
late in the
chance?
day anyways, so it's basically the end of the night anyway. You're gonna just go take your long rest and prepare different spells for the following day.
If I have time, I need to do some more Stridos because I only have one vial.
One that's
So
okay.
yeah, and then also
go
I've noticed in my inventory too, I still have my studded leather. Do you need to get rid of that because I have a breastplate now, and I don't think I get them both, right?
yeah, you can wear both.
Yeah,
or you don't get
so-
benefits from both. You can wear one and then the other if you wanted to.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna wear the breastplate, and I think I did sell the studded leather already. I just think you must have forgot to get rid of it for the inventory because I'm pretty sure I sold it and got the money for it. So
I just dropped it off for you.
okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, so if I get a chance, I just need to do some more Stridos, and otherwise I'm good for them.
Okay. All right. Well, then you guys kind of Kitas is already in his room, but Navarra and Peter, you guys retire to your rooms. For Kitas, you need two more vials?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've only got one full. Go ahead and make 2 alchemical rolls. One for each.
What kind of grab is that?
Alright, so you successfully get 1. Because it was a natural 1, I should penalize you for that, but since basically if it wasn't those glass steel, remember the glass steel vials that you got from...
The good ones.
Yeah, what was her name? Oeli? I think Oeli was her name, right?
Yeah, I think
If
so.
it wasn't for those, I'd say you shattered those, but since you have those specifically, I'd say that there's no other penalty to it except that maybe that vial is so disgusting now that it's going to take you... You can't use it next time. You'll need to clean it out next time.
Sorry to interrupt, but can I use one of my bones for this since we're about to do the long rest?
To help him? Huh.
Does it work with other people?
I have a 14, right? And I could just use a 14 for that. I think I have a 1, a 14, and something else.
So tell you what, you would need to be there, and you're technically not because he's kind of doing this in his own room. But I'll say that just so you might as well be able to get a use out of it. That you kind of foresaw when you were doing your thing this morning that Kitas was going to have some trouble with it, so you kind of gave him a tip off. Is how we'll narratively say that. You kind of told him, hey, when when I was doing my ritual this morning, I kind of felt like you were going to be trying to brew this up later. So when you do, make sure you brew this a little bit longer and you thicken the substance up with a little bit of flour before you go to pour it in. You kind of tell him ahead of time. So the Kitas can use the 14 instead, which would be successful, so we'll go ahead and refill all 3. Make sense?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I preemptively saw that you'd be a failure later, huh?
You just do it. You didn't even know, you were just guessing. You're like, you're gonna fuck up later, dude. You can just use this.
I guess 1 second. Now, so that's taken care of there. Sako, go ahead and roll a flat intelligence check again. This is you thinking over the where that alarm went off that you saw when you were in your third eye.
Son of a...
So
Do you have your other bones?
that's. I mean, he
Well, I don't
used
know
the
if you can do
14,
that.
so he does.
Yeah.
He has the other 2 that he has are shorter than that.
Oh, okay.
Because he had a 14, but he gave you the 14 already. I'd say that you've pieced together the kind of... all right, so you were above it, basically, and kind of looking down, if you were just look straight down through the floor somehow, the direction that it covers the Arboretum, the Brig, the Director's office, presumably her quarters. You don't know where her quarters are necessarily. You just know that she goes, there's a door out from her office that gets to them. And HR is all in that area. So that's the kind of wedge of space that it was kind of in that general direction. So it could be anywhere in those. That was the direction that it came from. That's as much as you could piece together from what you were facing.
Gotcha. Yep, makes sense.
All right. Want to go ahead and roll in your portent for the day?
Yeah, 3 20s.
Yep.
Damn right.
Jesus Christ, you have so many fucking spells. It takes like half an hour to scroll through that shit. Well, I mean, those
Garbage day.
I mean, if you're giving them to bad guys, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right, a 9, a 3, and a 3. Go. All right. So it's the next day then, basically. You guys have woken up. you're still going to have a couple of days before the next thing that we need to get to, which is starting the next mission.
Should I just change out my spells now?
Well, that's the thing, is you don't necessarily even need to change your preparation, because if you would say if you were going to prepare something different for this day specifically to check out Ketos' things, then and just switch them back, then just leave them like they are. You don't need to manually change your preparation, because we're going to have a couple more days anyway. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Okay.
So in that case, what are you guys doing? You gathering up the following morning? What are you doing?
I'll gather up with Ketis, and I'm gonna take a look at that sword he was having an issue with.
Okay.
What are you doing? Take a look at it. How?
I'm gonna cast identification on it.
Okay. Choose one object, touch through, casting the spell. So the last part of that, if you instead touch a creature, oh no. Yeah, that's funny, I was thinking that actually would be, no, it is there, okay. So the last sentence of the first paragraph, you learn whether any spells affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn what spell created it. In casting that on there, you do sense a dim amount of a scrying type magic, but not necessarily scrying in the sense of it. So basically, it's subtle. It's a very thin layer of it, and it's not to listen or see the user or anything around it. It feels only like it's just trying to detect a location.
Arcane GPS.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that. Like a very subtle version of that. Like trying to be as careful and subtle about it. It's no longer warm, and it's not electrified. That's a spell that was affecting it previously that is no longer being affected by.
Just for extra level of security, I think I'll cast a non-detection on it as well.
On the sword or on Ketis? Does it work on objects?
That one, let me see. Target. Oh, well, you know what? It may not even work, because if I do it on the target, that's going to be Ketis, but it's tracking the sword, not Ketis.
Well, if he's got it on his back, it would still work in the same way. I think, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it the target can be willing creature?
Or perceive through magical scrying
It does just
sensors.
say target, so you could just use the sword. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Ketis, because it just says target. It doesn't say creature or anything like that.
Alright, I'm gonna hit the sword.
Right. Alright, so you kind of take the pinch of diamond dust, sprinkle it all along the blade, and you see it kind of begin to fade and then disappear, and it looks like it's fused into the blade a little bit, and then it's just gone. The blade looks normal again. But the dust has now disappeared. But it looks like it's kind of faded into. It looks like it's working. You, with the Identify still running, Identify lasts for like 10 minutes, I think, or something like that. You can sense that there doesn't appear to be anything still going on this. That's just what was affecting it the night before.
Alright, so there is still magic on it?
Yeah, there's still magic on it, but you're good for 8 hours.
You can't,
Alright,
you can't be tracked, so you can't be scryed on using that sword for 8 hours.
I think during these 8 hours we should snoop around.
Yeah, because who knows who else is seeing us do that.
Well,
Okay.
so that what Peter sensed in it specifically was not that you were being watched or listened to at all. You were just being tracked as far as your location.
Okay. Alright.
Or at least that somebody looked for you to find out where you were.
Okay, then after that 8 hours is up, then,
Got a recast.
yeah, well, I can see, I don't know if it'll work, but my Dispel Magic probably wouldn't work on it, so I'm guessing it's probably more advanced than that. But yeah, so we can go try to get some stuff done for 8 hours.
Actually, could we do a Dispel Magic on it?
Try if you want. Don't know if it'll do any good, but I could try. My bracer has it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
What level was that?
Level 3?
Yep, 3. Choose one creature, object, or magical effect within range. Any spell 3rd level or lower on the target ends. For each spell 4th level or higher on the target, make an ability check using your spellcasting. DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. Successful check, the spell ends. What are you casting it as?
Trying to get rid of the scrying magic.
Yeah, I'm asking for what level Peter's using.
Oh, this is my bracer. So
Oh, you're using. Okay, that would just be a flat 3rd level. I thought Peter was casting it. Sorry. Okay. There was not an effect on it to dispel. In fact, actually, if you dispel it now, all you're going to be dispelling is the non-detection.
okay, yeah, then we'll just wait. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, there was no current effect, anyways. All Peter sensed from it is that there had been that scrying being used the night before. There was still some latent energy to that, but it wasn't still affecting the sword at all. There was no current spells affecting it,
Okay.
other than the sword itself, its own magic. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to communicate with them about that vision I had. Maybe we could take a look at some of those places that potentially could have been in that vision.
Be more specific. You're talking about the part where you looked at on the desk and saw the map of the college?
No, somewhere there was a bright light and a reaction.
Oh, I got you. That, okay. That would be, so HR, the brig, the director's office, and presumably her quarters, because there's a door that goes out of there. You think that's where her quarters are, you've just never been in there. The Arboretum, and I think that's it.
What do you think, guys?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you guys going specifically? I mean, that whole that whole area is basically you just go down your elevator and step out, you'll be in the Arboretum, so you're there.
It's perfect.
Yeah, just first floor that we can get to.
Okay, so you step out of the elevator, looking around in the Arboretum. It is morning, so there's still, there's a lot of people have already kind of finished up and head off to, whatever their day-to-day is, but there's still numerous people that are kind of just loitering around, drinking coffee and kind of finishing breakfast. The tables aren't really in use. Most of the people are kind of milling around the sides of the, offices, like heading out towards their hallways to go back to whatever respective departments and offices they work in. But the cafeteria is still pretty busy. The cafeteria workers are still kind of shuffling around. But otherwise, the Arboretum looks pretty normal. What are you trying to do?
I think my vision showed it was a darker room, wasn't it? A small room, dark.
Yeah.
So Arboretums don't really have those types of rooms. So I think we can take a quick look around, see if we could find a small room.
There's no small room or anything off there. There are a couple of closets and things like that. And you can kind of open the doors, look around in there. They just look, closets with cleaning supplies, a broom here, mop there, that kind of thing. The cafeteria has, the kitchen area behind it, but there's nothing that's all well lit and everything too. None of this is very dark in the Arboretum. Even the kind of greenhouse areas are still really well lit, obviously to be able to grow the plants and things like that are up here, but it doesn't look to be much in the Arboretum that matches the description of what you saw.
Let's move on to the next place and not waste any time here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so
What do you think?
HR, the brig, and the director's offices.
HR?
Yeah, how are we with security check? Are we good for the director's office, or will it get a little bit hotter later on?
You probably, she's usually in her office, so that would be tricky. And then even if she weren't, you can assume based on you being familiar with the layout and having been here for so long of the college that there are almost certainly going to be severe security measures in there, which is actually how Robbie got thrown in the brig in the first place.
I guess process of elimination. Let's check HR.
Okay. You head in there, and actually, surprisingly, HR is largely empty. You don't see anyone sitting at their desks at all, except for a woman named Anna, who you've met a couple of times. Kitas and Ivara met her at the only time you've ever met her actually was at the Hallows End festival, I think, when she was dressed as a spider. With, she lifted her arms up and had like these dangling appendages of 3 other arms hanging below each one. They were just, hung by strings. But she was either the spider or the ketchup. I can't remember if she was the ketchup bottle or not. But anyways, she's sitting at her desk, no longer dressed like that. She's dressed in normal attire. But she is Anna is Robbie's mom. But she's in there. Other than that, it's just, it's one big room. They're not individual offices. There is one individual office to the side, but the door's wide open. There's no one in there. But it's really well lit. The whole place is really bright. Anna's sitting at her desk in the big room. The side office is empty. What are you guys doing? You guys are standing outside of the big room. You haven't really looked in or anything. Or haven't gone in, I mean.
I guess we just go in and kind of split up. One of us run interference with Robbie's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other 2 look around.
Okay.
Who feels comfortable with their level of charisma? Who's our talker here?
I'll go talk to Robbie's mom.
Copy that.
Okay. So
I'll
you're
go
going
in.
to talk to Robbie's mom. What are Peter and Navarro doing?
I'm gonna walk in and just kind of quietly sense any magic or sense anything that's happening in this general area.
Say the cheap way or the slot way?
I'm sorry, didn't catch that.
The cheap way or the spell slot way?
We'll go the cheap way for now.
Okay. Roll a Arcana check. You don't really see nothing really stands out too much from you. There's All right, so how I'll put it is this: you don't feel anything in this room at all that stands out to you, but there is a massive source, kind of similar to what you felt not all that long ago in the mines in Dry Gulch, and it's coming from a direction to the west of you, which is the direction going back towards the Arboretum and where the director's offices is and all that stuff. So there's a huge source of power coming from over there, but you don't feel anything coming from here in HR, in this room. Edis, you've arrived at Anna's desk. What are you doing?
Say, man, kind of slow day around here, huh? Not much going on.
She politely chuckles. She's shuffling a bunch of papers. She says, well, it may look like that, but I'm the only one working today, so I mean, I gotta. It may look like there's not a lot going on, but I'm real busy. But it's good to see you, though, Ketis. What can I do for you?
Not much. Just passing through. Just wanted to see how you're doing. You haven't been able to see Robbie in a while, so.
And she kind of sighs. She says the director let me go down and see him, every once in a while. I think it's been about a week now, and I'm really missing my boy. But, it's still real tough. They won't tell me what's going on. So, I'm kind of just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping they'll let him out soon.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do everything we can to try to get him out. Poor little guy. I know he's innocent.
Because that's kind of what I don't get, I mean, I know he is, and he told me what happened. He said somebody was controlling him, and I get that they're, being cautious about it. Maybe they want to, find out who that was before they let him out, but what if that doesn't happen? I don't know what to do. And she's like, she's obviously exasperated.
Yeah. Yep, well, hopefully we'll have him out soon. Just be careful, you never know what happened to him and who's trying to set him up.
She looks up at you and she mouths the words "thank you." Like, doesn't say it out loud. She just mouths the words "thank you," and then kind of looks back at her.
Smile at her real quick, and then carry on.
Okay. What are you guys doing?
So using locate animals like I did in Dry Gulch probably wouldn't work, would it? Because they're not technically animals.
But what are you trying to detect?
As I'm assuming the egg bay is a baby Dellen's cap, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's
not an
I
animal.
wasn't following. I wasn't sure what you were trying to detect there. Yeah, it wouldn't work. Let's see. You intuit that it probably would not work in this case.
Can I use locate object?
It's not an object either.
What
I
about
guess-
that
what are you trying to
fishing fish tank thing?
Well, when it comes to the book that she has where the different animals go in there, was there ever anything about the Dellum's cat that went in there? Because she had some experience with it, so I don't know. I know it's an alien thing, but would that make it any kind of familiarization with it?
Nivara, being honest, don't cheat. Being honest, have you ever looked through the tome looking for Dellen's cap in there?
Have
No,
you
I
opened the book to
didn't.
look through it and thought about that? You know,
I
since
never thought to look for a Dylan's cap in there.
Yeah. So in that case, then she wouldn't have.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that she couldn't in the future. You just can't metagame and cheat and think, oh, I would have looked at it or something like that. It doesn't mean it's
No, I
in there
don't.
anyways. It just means that whether or not there was information about it, she basically, it still wouldn't make it an object. So I guess what was your? But that's potentially, if it had been in there, that could have potentially been a good source of information. That was good thinking. But what object is it that you're trying to look for from Nivara?
Well, I'm assuming it would have to be in a tank, so I guess the tank it would be in.
Because Peter did tell her that part of the
She-
story, right?
Yeah, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say locate object. Just show me every fish tank in a 5-foot radius. It's not like it needs to be a specific object, doesn't it?
But it says describe or name an object that is familiar to you.
Yeah, but and a specific object, not just any random fish tank that you're familiar with. Plus, you didn't actually even see that. Remember, that was something that
Yeah.
Robbie, like nobody's seen it. Robbie just told Ketis about a fish tank.
Alright.
That's true. You're not personally familiar with it, huh?
So I mean, that would mean you don't know really how it looks or anything else. Just that it was a fish tank is all. But either way, I mean, back to what Peter was sensing there, though, there was a huge source of power coming from the direction of the Arboretum and the director's offices.
Looks like we're gonna have to hit the director's office in a sec, huh?
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to do, or are you heading over there?
I don't think so.
Just
I'm ready
head
for
over
you.
there.
We're good.
So you make your way out of HR. Anna waves at the three of you as you leave. As you head over there, you hear arguing. Not arguing, but let's say loud voices. You hear the director's loud voice, and she's not shouting, but is being more stern than normal. And she's obviously shouting, or this stern voice, let's say, at somebody who is mumbling something back, but not loud, very loud at all, until you get a little bit closer, and then you're hearing the mumbling. It's just I'm Drew, and it's just that. It's a Peter. You know who that is too. It's the director's assistant. His name is Drew. And that's all he says. He just says I'm Drew, which I never realized sounded like the I'm Groot thing until I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2 like a few weeks ago. And I never put the two together. That's not how I thought of it or anything else. Like subconsciously, maybe you'll see what I mean eventually. Because, but anyways, it's not how I thought of it because I didn't think of this. This character came from something else, and maybe they thought of it from from Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know, because I never read the comics or anything like that. I don't. But anyways, he's being yelled at, very stern, not yelled at, but very sternly reprimanded. It sounds like by the director. You don't know why, but by the time you've gotten close enough. She's no longer grumbling. She's no longer kind of mumbling at him, possibly because she's heard you guys' footsteps coming from the corner or something. But he basically, you're hearing him sheepishly just say, I'm Drew, just over. Like she says, she was yelling at him or saying something, and very sternly, like, we need to do this, and why aren't you doing blah, blah, blah. And he's just saying, I'm Drew. Just very quietly, like very resigned. But as you've kind of made your way around the corner, though, you're down, basically near where the brig is, of course, but you're outside of the director's office, outside the waiting room. What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm guessing that Drew has the same thing going on, being controlled like Robbie was right now.
That's all he's ever said. That's not new.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Do you remember who that is?
No, I forgot that one.
So
He's
every
the
time,
guy that brings in the cart.
yeah, exactly. Every time you guys were bringing in an Idrilim, he brings in the cart. He hands you guys your reward.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff, and that's all he
Yeah.
ever says is just "I'm Drew." He's a short little guy, bald, and he's basically always at the director's side. He's either there. You never see him anywhere else. He's either with her or he's not around. Like, you've never seen him anywhere that's not, outside of her office, basically.
Okay.
He shows up to the parties and things like that. Like, he's not tied there. He's not like a prisoner, but he basically just he's almost never apart from the director. But anyways, so you're standing outside of the waiting room area. What are you guys doing?
Is the director still there?
She's still in there. You can still hear that they're in there. And in fact, now that you
Okay.
guys are standing out there in the hallway, she says, I can hear you guys. You might as well just come in.
Alright. So, what happened to Drew?
So you kind of...
With Drew.
All three of you going in? Or just Ketis?
Might as well go in.
Peter?
Yeah, maybe I'll just hang out in the hallway for a minute, pretending to play with Toki for a bit.
Okay. So Navarro, you and Kita step in. You see that Drew's head is kind of, chin almost on his chest, like it's just, head down, looks very upset. And when you step in, the director kind of waves him away, and he, without even looking at you guys, kind of walks through the side door that goes out towards like the rest of it. You guys have never been back there, but that presumably goes back to her quarters or something. Usually that door's closed, except when Drew comes in with a cart. He always comes through that same door. Anyways, you guys step in. She is standing, looks very annoyed. She's standing behind her desk, kind of leaning on her fists that are on a map on the table on her desk. Her white oak staff is leaning against the table beside her. She kind of looks up at you guys. She says, "Well, what can I do for you?"
Is everything alright with Drew? Is he alright? Look around while you can.
Roll a perception, actually, on both Ketis and Navarro.
I was going to say, while we're in here, I need to take a look around, see if you can see the fish tank.
While they're doing that as well, I'd like to detect some magic in the area, see if the signal's stronger here or if it's directional.
Using actual detect, or using a slot, or just Arcana?
For now, just Arcana.
Okay. Roll a flat Arcana check, but the DC is going to be pretty high. I'll explain why in a second. You both rolled really shitty for your perception checks. You noticed that when you asked about, basically when you showed some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some empathy, some compassion towards Drew. That you asked, like, is everything okay with Drew? You see her face soften just slightly, and her eyes kind of go downcast, and the look of annoyance and kind of anger on her face fades for a second. She says, "Look, I'm being too hard on him. He's doing his best. It's not his fault. Look, it's not. That's a topic between he and I. What can I help you with?" She says that. You guys can think of your question in a second. For Peter, that was actually a decent roll. There is so much noise, for lack of a better term, that the whole, and you're aware of this. Every time you even come by her office, it's just glaring to you that everything around her office is just constantly glowing. There's so much source of power in her office. Some things stand out. Her staff is glowing. You're seeing this kind of through the walls, just from the sense you're just seeing these auras, but you can tell that that's the shape of her staff that's beside her through the wall there. But there's just so much glowing shit that is off to the side of not where her office is, but presumably in rooms next to it, that there's just so much glowing source coming from there. You can't necessarily pick anything out with just an Arcana check, but it's blindingly. That's how much power is coming off of this. Ketis Navarro, what was your answer to her?
Just curious about any information you might have on the exhibition. Kind of excited. Almost done.
She kind of chuckles, but not in it's like not a laugh of mirth, more a laugh of like oh man, if you only knew kind of a laugh. And she taps her knuckles against the desk. She says, "Look, it's going to be tough, and I've got some information, but I'm not ready to tell you about it just yet. The three of you, Peter included, and yes, Peter, I know you're out there." She says, kind of shouts out a little bit louder so that you can hear around the corner. She says, you two need to get down to the dojo, and you're going to be training at least a solid 8 hours a day until we're ready to go. So these are your orders. If you have questions, by all means. Otherwise, get to it.
She hasn't seen me yet, but she knows I'm there. Just assuming I'm hanging out. Could I cast a detect thoughts on Groot?
On Drew, you can't see him. He's around the corner. Does detect thoughts require you to be able to see the target? He's not in the office anymore. He walked into like the other side of her other parts of her office that you can't see.
For the duration, you could read the thoughts of a certain creature. When you cast a spell, blah blah blah. 30 feet. Your mind on any one creature that you can see within 30 feet.
Yeah,
okay, he's left the room.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, can I look around, G, at the map? Is that can I see little strings on it? You know, because Peter did tell us about the map with the strings, right? Is that the same map that he told me about? That she's sitting near or on? If I can look around,
So
you know, while we're
that
talking.
map with the strings was something he saw in a vision while he was doing Roll the Bones.
Did he tell us about that?
Peter, did you tell them about that?
Yeah, we all met up in the morning and
Okay.
discussed.
That is definitely not in this room, no. That room was a cave with a big glowing green vat. In fact, Ketis, you've seen one of those glowing green vats before. In fact, you saw, I think, a row of 6 of them before that was very similar to what Peter had described. And those just happened to be up here in the college, but the room that he described was definitely not that.
Okay.
Do you remember those green vats? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't remember right now.
I think
Okay.
this was before Peter joined the field team, but Ketis and Navarre were taken to the back of Fantasy Costco once where Fredgy was stitching your hand back on. Do you remember that?
Oh
No,
yeah.
Peter was there. Yeah, Peter was there.
Yeah, he was with us.
Yeah, and in the back, when he was stitching your hand back on, you saw large green vats just like that, like he described.
Okay.
But the room that Peter was seeing was in a cave, and it was definitely on the surface. It was not here up here on the moon.
Okay. And do I see the fish tank in this room here?
No.
Okay.
No fish tank in this room. You've been in this room lots of times. You would have remembered if there was a fish tank in here.
All right. So I'll just say, all right, thanks, will do, to the director.
Navarre, anything?
No, I'm just trying to think of a plan how to get in our rooms
Yeah.
without her knowing.
You could sneak in. I don't know. Can you turn into insects or whatever? Turn into a fly, sneak in there, you know,
I'm not sure I have any of that, but I could
or a small mouse or
use-
something.
I could change it into her if somebody would distract her away from her office.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. And the walls around here what are they made out of?
Huh.
Wood? Is it wood or
No, it's definitely metal. It's definitely metal, but they're
Okay.
it's actually. So you actually, I don't remember if you asked that when you first came up here. Becky might have. I think one of you had asked about that when you first teleported up here, because it's basically a glowing, looks like plastic essentially that Ben and Becky would recognize as plastic, but it glows white, like there's an incandescent light coming from all of this. You don't see lamps or light bulbs or anything like that. It's basically all the lights coming out of these walls, but essentially is a metal.
Okay.
But she's, if you have something to do, by all means. But otherwise, she's told you guys to go hit the dojo and get to.
Oh yeah. We'll get out of there unless you wanted to talk to her about anything.
Not right now.
Okay. Yeah. Then we'll skedaddle.
Okay, Peter, you doing anything? Or you're heading off to training.
Yep, heading off.
So we're going to be jumping ahead, unless there's something else you guys want to do. We're going to be jumping ahead about a week of training. So is there anything you guys wanted to do during that week?
I don't
We're
think
basically
so.
setting up the next mission is what we're doing.
I'm gonna try and just keep thinking about where the location would be. That vision.
So here's the tricky part for that. This is a kind of a metagame thing a little bit. So how roles work is you have to assume that when you make a roll on something, that is your every effort to do that, and then whether you succeed or not, kind of, if I just let you roll, as many times as you wanted, you would eventually succeed. You know what I mean? Just because obviously, eventually the dice are going to agree with you, if that makes sense. So
Gotcha.
So like, say you're trying to climb a ladder and you fail on the first roll. Well, that didn't mean that you tried once and then you fell, that meant that whole effort of you climbing the ladder was this one roll. Even if it was you fell twice and then you finally made it, that's what that roll is supposed to dictate. Now, sometimes in certain situations, like if it's specifically action in those cases, action is easier to do that for, because if you did fall the first time, or and I give you kind of a, you started to fall off, but I give you like a dex save to just snap your arm out and try to grab a rung of the ladder before you fall off, something like that, that's a little bit different. But when it comes to the kind of more mental things or the intangible things, then that kind of does exemplify the entire effort, if that makes sense. And in this particular case, I gave you the 2 rolls, one because in the moment you were a little distracted, but later on while you're trying to sleep or something like that, that's when you kind of mentally process those things, and that's what the second roll was. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But I will give you this. That being said, the other investigation you did surrounding all of this, looking around, checking HR, checking the Arboretum, you definitely did not feel anything coming from down in the brig. You're pretty sure that the alarm bell that went off was back in the director's quarters somewhere. You don't know, like there could be 1,000 rooms back there, you don't know. But with the kind of source of power that you felt coming from that direction, it seems like it has to be back there somewhere.
Sounds good. That gives us direction.
Okay. All right. So for kind of jumping ahead there, then it's been almost a week since you guys returned from Dry Gulch. Now, the director has had the 3 of you doing really intensive training, like I said, like 8+ hours a day every day, just really heavy, intense physical training. A lot of it taking place in that dojo that the coursers had set up. You've been working with Carrie and Faith and some of the other coursers to help them improve their skills and sharpen your own. The director, though, she's been preparing you rigorously for this next mission that she had mentioned, the particulars of which she hasn't given you any info about, but she's just kind of leaned on you and your training. And at this point, I mean, it's been actually a year, just over a year now, since Kitas and Navarre joined it, and nearly 3 years since Peter did. And despite not necessarily trusting her entirely, I mean, you do trust her, but you don't feel like none of the 3 of you feel like she's giving you the whole truth. But you still have a pretty deep personal relationship with her, even if it's almost a friendship with the director. But in the past couple of weeks, really ever since you came back from Dry Gulch, a little over a week, but even before that a little bit, she's been kind of cold to you guys, like she's been more reserved. During training, though, the friendship that this friendliness that you guys have seen from her, it's just not there at all. She's extremely critical when you're training, and she also seems very worried. And this morning, while you're on your way to one of the intense training sessions, you receive a message from the director. It's time for you guys to start your next mission, and she wants to see you guys in her office. What are you guys doing?
Might as well go, unless you guys want to do something else.
So you guys are presumably about to head out for your mission. You know you're going to be. So, Sako, if you want to, make any changes to prepared spells or whatever, now's the time. If you want to, you can keep your current roll. I don't really care since you didn't use any of them. You can keep your current portent, or you can re-roll if you want to. You got a 9.
I just used a 14.
You used the 14 that night before, and then you rolled a 9, 3, and a 3 the next day. Remember?
Oh yeah. I'll re-roll.
Okay. And if you want to change any prepared spells, you can. Hey, there you go. Damn, those are good. I think it's the first time you got
I'll take
extra
that.
money on there, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll take that.
All right.
As for prepared spells, I'm gonna probably need at least an hour or 2 to kind of thumb through everything.
That's fine. You can take that time after we're done here. It won't. We'll leave what you have prepared for right now. But if you want to, change them, before next session, that's fine.
Okay.
So you guys head off to her office then. As you enter, she's sitting there, one hand on her staff, and her face is kind of in her other hand. She's just looking down at her desk, kind of holding her head. She looks up as you enter. She says, "Come on in, guys. How y'all feeling today?"
Good, ready to go.
Fine.
It's good. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. I've been leaning on you guys really hard lately, and she kind of pauses for a second. She says, "I know what's waiting for you on your next mission, and I just want you to be at peak performance." And without really even looking at you guys, she kind of looks over to the drawer at the side of her desk, and she pulls the drawer open. She pulls out a blue envelope with a fairly ornate gold trim on it, and she says, It's time I tell you guys a story that I haven't told you before. Before you enlisted in the Collegium Statera, in fact, before the college was even formed, I foolishly aspired to recover and destroy the Hands of Extinction on my own. I searched for months to locate these relics, but I came up empty, and that's when I received this. And she holds up that envelope, and she opens it up, and inside she pulls out a flyer, and it's really gaudy, it's really colorful, and it's got this advertising in big colorful block letters for a place called Wonderland. And behind that word Wonderland in these giant block letters is a colorful map that's showing a large circular clearing in a forest called the Morden Wilds, which is just an area you're familiar with. It's not far from Mist. It's off to the east of Mist a little ways. And on the reverse side, she kind of flips the flyer over, and you see on the back of it is a picture of a small copper set of scales, like balancing scales, like a merchant would use to weigh, gold coins and things like that, for measuring weights. And it's inlaid with a diamond pattern on this kind of copper set of scales across its body, and a bunch of different fonts all over this page, all equally gaudy and ugly. This side with a scale on it, it reads, "The Idrilim you've been looking for, the Statera scales." And she hands that flyer she kind of hands it over to you guys to inspect. And she says, "On that flyer is an image, and in fact, it is of the last Idrilim. As the flyer says, it's the Statera scales. When I was doing my investigations, I learned its name, but not its capabilities or whereabouts. But here it was, on paper, with a map included. And I mean, I of course researched Wonderland before I made any attempt on it. It's a place where, for those lucky enough to be invited or to otherwise be lured into its walls, it promised the fulfillment of any material wish, the rewarding of any prize that its visitors sought out. Hence my personalized flyer here. It is, of course, a death trap, but I was not without its fair share of victors. I heard stories, mostly secondhand, of survivors who made their way out of Wonderland claiming to have found prizes that they sought within. But their accounts of what is inside Wonderland never matched up, meaning that the contents are somehow different for each person who enters it. One person told of a maze full of undead killers, another told of a tomb of horrors. I was overly ambitious." She rotates her chair around, facing away from the desk and away from you. She says, she's still speaking, but she's facing away from you. She says, "My journey through Wonderland was hell, guys. I faced foes, the likes of which I've never seen outside of those walls, and psychological terrors that to this day leave me shaken. I abandoned my delve into Wonderland, but only after losing a wager that cost me dearly." And with her back to you, she's still facing the wall there. She's facing that portrait in the back of the room, the painting of her, the one that, I think it was Peter, who noticed this a long time ago, that there was some kind of arcane energy around it. Do you remember that, Sako? That there was a painting in her office that
Yep.
there was arcane energy around. So I think it was you that sensed that, yeah. But with a wave of her white oak staff, the image on that portrait changes, and the director Elsbeth that you see in that portrait, the one that you see in front of you, she's about a 50-year-old woman. But the portrait that did show her, that looked like a 50-year-old woman, disappears, and instead there's a younger woman there in the portrait with the same light hair and dark skin, kind of white-colored hair and dark skin that the director has, but she looks a couple of decades younger. She looks probably about 30 instead of 50. The wrinkles have kind of disappeared. The picture on the wall looks like just a younger version of her. And the director the director you know today, she rotates her chair around to face you. She says, "That was me not that long ago. I wagered 20 years of my life in a game of chess in Wonderland, and I lost. I'm not a vain woman. I don't care about losing the beauty of my youth, but 20 years is a lot of life to have pulled out from under you. It was necessary to progress through Wonderland, and I've known about this place since before you joined the organization, but to tell you the truth, I'm terrified of it. Because if I lose you guys in Wonderland, we lose everything. But I think the time has come, and I know you're ready." She says, "Wonderland will try to break you. You will face dangers the likes of which you've never seen. You'll face mental and emotional torment, but if you stay together, and if you trust each other, you can keep yourselves from losing it in there." Do you have any questions?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yes, I don't know. Not really anything I can think of.
I'm just going to sit there indifferent at this point because I personally kind of don't trust her.
Because you're a bad guy. No questions? Nothing else?
So,
All right. She says, well, in that case, I mean, we'll be, on the stone. So if you have questions while you're down there, of course, please call to get whatever help we can, because we can't lose you guys down there. And Ango, of course, will offer everything he can. I'll offer everything I can. Just be really careful down there. Rodolph's ready for you in the teleportation chambers. You guys head out.
Yeah.
Okay. So you make your way over, you grab, whatever gear you might need out of your rooms, as long as you weren't prepared, you weren't ready to, she'd called you in here, but, you were just planning to go to training. So you go and grab your things out of your room for your, surface excursion, and head off to the teleportation chamber. Rodolph is in there, Ro. As soon as you step inside, he gives you kind of all three of you gives you a cautious grin, I would say, and kind of, he grabs his flask off of his belt and hands it over towards you. You remember it's a nice strong rum, I guess spiced rum. But he says, well, I mean, she told me where you're going, and it's going to be a trek, because the closest ring that I've got to be able to port you down to is outside the Wilds Forest. So I mean, you're going to have to trek a few days through the woods. So I figured you might want to, little swig to get you guys going.
I'll take one for sure.
So he gives you guys a drink if you choose it anyways, and he says just go on. I mean, you know the drill. You step into the middle of this ring. He presses the thing on his bracer. The blue ring around you begins to glow, snaps up around you. You guys are barreling through space. The blue spiraling tunnel of teleportation magic rockets you down towards the surface, and despite being accustomed to it by now, I did not prepare that. Whoops. That'll be right. Despite being accustomed to it now, still leaves you kind of a slight unsettling feeling in the pit of your stomach, but it passes quickly. You open your eyes in the late afternoon sun on an otherwise empty sky. It's pleasant, it's not too warm, it's not too cold, but there is a nice kind of a subtle breeze. I don't have the one I was looking for, so we're going to go cowboy. You're standing in a ruined edifice of some kind. The light snaps away from you. You're standing basically out here, just in the wilderness, in a ruined edifice, like possibly once a small tower or a holdfast of some kind, just a stone, rocky outcropping ruin. The teleportation ring at your feet has aged. It's largely crumbled, but apparently intact enough to still function. The ruins are near a cliffside that runs north to south, and north of you can see the edge of the Northern Wilds Forest. It's maybe a half dozen miles downslope to the north. What are you guys doing?
Head that way.
Okay, so you kind of carefully make your way out of it, just climbing over all the broken rubble and everything of this place. Turn it down a little bit. And begin kind of walking down this slope near the cliffside. The walk is relatively uneventful, as long as you guys aren't doing anything anyways. The sun is kind of beginning to go down on the horizon a little ways. It's getting the late afternoon for sure. You see a small herd of a dozen or so shovel tusks in the open plains off to the east a little ways that are just grazing in the dry grass. Roll a perception. I guess all three of you. Navara for sure actually sees them, but you, in just watching them, just because there's not a lot going on, there's birds flying overhead, there's just the normal kind of sounds of nature, but it feels good being kind of back in the proper nature, not just the fake one in the arboretum. You notice that in some dry brush that's nearby, that herd of shovel tusks, you see a pair of wolves that are kind of pacing back and forth in the brush, that are staring at them hungrily. They haven't attacked or anything of that sort, but you do see you expect that the smallest of the shovel tusks is probably going to be food very soon. But you're kind of making your way, unless you guys are doing anything else wise. By the time you get towards the edge of the forest or so, that the sun is getting just below just beginning to pass below the horizon, and it's coming close to time to make camp. What are you guys doing?
Keep going or stop now?
Keep pushing for a little while.
Let's go.
Okay. I mean, you'll be into the woods, so your choice basically is you can be camping in the woods, or outside of it, but basically you're coming to the edge of the woods anyways, and the sun's going down. So it's basically, if you're going to camp at some point, up to you guys, in or out of the woods.
Probably more cover in the woods, right?
Yeah, more dangerous too, though.
Yeah, sure. By the edge, I guess.
Yeah, let's just do it outside. Why not?
Okay.
Alright, so you guys are setting up camp then. We'll just say that you've got camping supplies enough with you that you would have prepared for that anyways. That the college gave you whatever supplies you would have needed. But that there's let's say the normal amount of wildlife around you. You don't really see anything that looks dangerous or anything of that sort. But you do set up a couple of tents and a nice little campfire and everything. The sun is still, it's not quite below the horizon yet, or it's not all the way rather. There's still some light out, but it is coming time to rest for the night. You guys gonna set watch or anything? What's the plan?
Yeah, definitely. I can take first shift if you guys want me to.
Don't I have an item for that really quick? Hold on a second. Staff of Warning?
I put it on there. That's Paratus, but that's not... I didn't put all the info on there. Let me see. Yeah, that's Paratus. Magic weapon warns you of danger. While a weapon is on your person, you have advantage on initiative rolls. Yeah, that's where that's coming from. In addition, you and any of your companions within 30 feet of you can't be surprised except when incapacitated by something other than non-magical sleep. Weapon magically awakens you and your companions within range if any of you are sleeping naturally when combat begins. So you'd still want to set a watch, presumably, to know when something's coming. Basically, if something comes within 30 feet of you while you're sleeping, it would wake you up.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't mean necessarily... you could rely on just that, but you would probably still want to set a watch just so that you know if someone's coming or whatever, but it's up to you.
Sounds good. We'll set a watch and then just have that as a backup.
Okay. So if Ketis is going to go first, you do have that tiny hut too on your bracer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, we're going to be inside somewhere soon, so yeah, I can just use that. And then we don't have to set up watch.
You still... That doesn't...
For sure.
Well, it's up to you. You do it. Read what it does, and then just, if you decide if you want to or not. You still presumably would set a watch.
Okay. Well, let's just, if we're going to set up a watch and everything anyway, we'll just save it.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Alright, you just set up your camp then. Peter and Navarre, you guys kind of hop into your respective tents to nap a little while. Who's going to take? I guess we'll go through the first one. For Ketis's watch, the sun, starts to go down. It's finally starting to get dark out. You start hearing the crickets and all the kind of nighttime animals. You start hearing the owls in the forest. The nocturnal animals beginning to wake up and start their hunt. I think the night is too dark, isn't it? That'll be alright. But it's, the night definitely has come, though. Go ahead and just roll a flat d20 on Ketis. Okay. Let's say 3 hours. We'll just do 3 hours. Has passed. The sun's gone down. You're starting to get sleepy, starting to nod off a little bit. But the end of your watch has come. Who are you waking up to take second watch?
I'll wake Peter up.
Okay. So Peter, yeah, you feel Ketis kind of shaking your shoulder. You were expecting this, of course. You kind of get up and kind of crawl out of the tent and go sit out by the fire. And your watch similarly, it's already dark out. It's not too cold out here, especially not by the fire. It's still pretty comfortable. What are you doing to pass the time?
I'm going to cast my lights and spread them all around the camp just to kind of see what's going on, get a better view,
Okay.
and just keep watch, keep quiet.
So you're up near the edge of the cliffside there. There's kind of a rocky outcropping that you can't see down the cliff there, but about near the cliff's edge. There's just some rocks that are piled up above that, and you're kind of between those and some trees. But you've got your lights up and everything seems fine. You don't see anything. Nothing appears to be approaching your camp or anything else. Go ahead and roll a d20, flat d20. So, you, in sitting there, let's see. Alright, yeah, with the roll, we'll have to roll a, I think it's wisdom. Hang on, let me find it. Roll a intelligence save. It's the right column. Yep, you got the right one. Okay. You, while you are, kind of still enjoying the kind of polite evening, just kind of resting, sitting on a log next to the or leaning against a log by the fire, your eyes begin to just carefully and slowly eyelids begin to just kind of drift down, and you don't feel like you fell asleep or anything, but your eyes snap back open again. Oh shit, is my Amazon showing up yet? Hang on. As your eyes begin to kind of drift down, and you snap back open again and look up, and you don't feel like you fell asleep at all, but you look up and you do see that the moon has moved a little bit in the sky, and that makes you a little bit kind of panicked for just a second, and you kind of look around, and as soon as you look around, you see that all around your camp, surrounding your camp, all the way around it, in the dirt, in the loose dirt that you've kind of built this little campsite in, are footprints all the way around, and they're about probably 10 feet away from the fire in a circle all the way around. But it's as if there was like a dozen people just stamping all over the place, just watching you guys, and you didn't see anybody, you didn't hear anybody. What do you do?
Yell out to Ketis and Navarra, wake them up.
Okay, Ketis and Navarra, you guys hear Peter shouting for you out by the fire.
I'm going to grab my stuff and get up.
Grab my bow.
You step out, and sure enough, as soon as you step out, in fact, it's so, the dirt and everything is so disturbed and so strangely affected that you immediately notice it as soon as you step out, because it's like kicked up dirt almost all the way around it, in a big circle all the way around your camp. And the tents even are off to the side enough that it was only even a few feet from the tents, which means that whoever did this, whoever was stamping all over the place out here, was only a few feet from the back of the tent, and you guys didn't notice any of this. But you kind of see this all around, and before...
Just in case.
A little paranoid there, huh?
I'm scared.
Yeah, you kind of focus on it for a second and feel yourself get a little healthier. And is that something I don't remember. Is that something you just use once a day?
No, I can use it anytime I want. It can't stack, but I can use it anytime I want.
Nice. Oh, and it lasts an hour. That's cool. You don't hear or see anything abnormal at first, but you're kind of looking around at all this disturbance around. What are you guys doing? Apart from all the stamping footprints all around.
Just do a cheap arcane check, see if someone invisible's running around, maybe. Feel something.
I don't think that would work. Arcana check is more for simple to like get an idea of something could be magical or something, but looking all around, you're not necessarily going to be able to detect whether a spell's going off. That's kind of what detect magic is for.
All right, so probably more of just a perception type of thing.
You do have your third eye, which you know that's a class ability that you like have. I think you've used it only to read that thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I've only used it once or twice. That's
Yeah.
it.
But that you can see into the ethereal plane, see invisibility, and dark vision.
Run third eye, see if there's anybody running around.
The second you use that, there is already a humanoid shape barreling into you and is 8 feet away from you at this point. You kind of snapped it up just in time to be able to have yourself a reaction first. But go ahead and roll initiative, and you'll get your surprise round first. All three of you roll initiative. Oh, and you get, don't forget to, for Peter, roll it one more time. You get advantage of your initiative rolls because of that stat.
Nice.
The second one, I'll roll one for Toki.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, that was you. That wasn't it.
Toki got a 9. Mikey got a really shit roll. Alright, let me show you guys the map. That one might take a second to download.
Cool.
There's Toki for Peter. Right, and this guy is just barreling into Peter. He is about right there right now. You, Ketis and Navarre can't see this. You just hear. That would be covered too. Actually, I don't think you would even hear. There we go. Wait. There we go. Anyways, Peter, this is what you see barreling into you. Dude wearing, all three of you, I'll just go ahead and share it. A dude wearing heavy steel plate with a steel mask covering his face. And you see these kind of curved, jagged scimitars that he's got holding one in each hand, and he has these kind of football tackling style rushing at you. All right, Peter, you get a reaction round since you third-eyed right in time. So what are you doing?
I'm gonna roll out of the way in one direction. That's okay.
Sure. You have your movement and everything, so I mean you can do it wherever you want.
All right, I'm just gonna kind of roll back over.
Okay. And Toki coming with you. Is Toki
On the shoulders. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. What are you doing? You have an action as well, so what do you want to do?
Am I able just to yell at him and just ask him what's going on, what do you want?
That's a free action, really. So that doesn't even take your action to do so. But you do, shouting at him, you know, what do you want? He doesn't appear to have replied. He doesn't. I mean, not that he necessarily could in the moment because it's a surprise round, anyways. But he doesn't look to be talkative. He was literally rushing at you, about to stab you with those two jagged scimitars.
All right, sounds good. We're gonna firebolt him real quick.
Okay. My boss wants to go. I don't know what my boss wants to do. Go ahead and target him, so hold down control and click on him. And then hit the cast on your firebolts. So you kind of charge away from him just to give yourself some clearing space between you and him, and throw your hand out as kind of like almost like if you were throwing a card, kind of a gesture towards him, and it just goes over his shoulder as he's rushing towards you, and just sails off into the distance. Anything else for your turn as far as bonus action?
That's it for now.
Okay. Then it is Ketis' turn. What are you doing? You saw Peter rush away over towards the other tent over by Navarro, where she's just come out of her tent, and you are seeing the ground being disturbed, and you're seeing bits of dirt flinging up.
Oops, sorry.
No, you're fine. If you're on combat, I'll probably have to undo that one. So change that back to preparation and then uncheck it. Sorry, back to standard, I guess, not preparation. There you go, and then go back to that one switcheroo, and then there you go. Now it's unchecked. That way it'll still show up for you when you're on the combat mode, or you can leave it on standard mode. Doesn't matter.
Sorry, I was trying to find out what it does.
You're fine. It's hit the button on the right.
Yeah.
For Ketis, though, you're seeing dirt flinging up behind us if someone's running through. You just don't see the person there.
Okay, and that's the guy running towards Peter.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yep.
Okay, is he still on fire from when he get hit by the fireball?
He did.
Is there a mark on him?
The fireball.
Oh, he missed.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Alright, well. Just be safe, I'm going to pop up my shield and... I'm going to use my Vesture of Stone. So what do I just take cast, G?
Yes. I think... hang on, let's see if I can change that. There we go. Let me read it real quick. That was the Arcanum you got, nice. Until the spell ends, bits of rock spread across your body and you gain the following benefits. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical attacks. You can use your action to create a small earthquake on the ground in a 15-foot radius centered on you, so point-blank area effect. Other creatures that are on the ground must succeed on a dex save or be knocked prone. You can move across difficult terrain made of earth or stone without spending extra movement, and you can move through solid earth or stone as if it was air and without destabilizing it, but you can't end your movement there. That's interesting. Cool. Yes, so that one is a concentration effect, so it will take your con slot. But
Okay.
hit the second. No. Yeah, sorry, the second one. So the one that says Investiture of Stone, resist, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, magic self. Hit that one.
Okay.
The others are effects that you'll use on them if you use that. Whoops.
Okay.
I'll have to repeat. Alright, that is on you. That takes your action and your concentration slot. So any bonus actions or anything? Movement, anything?
I am going to actually move back this way a little bit.
Okay.
So,
Ready for your turn?
yeah.
Go ahead and hit the end turn button. There we go. Alright. The guy in the mask that Peter can actually see, the big Navarre and Ketis, you guys can't see him, is going to keep charging towards Peter, and as soon as he gets within range, is going to he's going to barrel into Peter, trying to just basically turn into his shoulder and then just try to crash into him with his shoulder to knock him back. It's still going to be a regular attack, but I'm going to he's going to use push. He's going to use a pushing attack like a Battle Master.
Like a tripping kind of attack.
Same
Yeah.
thing, exactly. In fact, actually, it's...
If it works, it'll knock him out.
Yeah, except he missed, so much for that.
Nice.
Yeah, he fucking rolled a 2, so even with his modifier wasn't enough. He runs straight at Peter, trying to barrel into Peter. Peter, you see it happen just in time and are able to kind of just dodge out of the way just enough. I'd say that actually he even ends up over here, just behind you, and is spinning around and is going to, so he gets 2 attacks, he's going to swing and just try to slash you with his scimitar. And that one hits. For 15 damage. And that is it. He's going to use a legendary action right now. That's it for his turn. It is your actual turn, Peter. Becky will eventually get to go.
Maybe.
All right, these cliffs on the left that we see, is that something that goes up and over, or is it just out? I can't tell from the image.
Yeah, so the rocks there go up. They're, I mean, distance-wise, they actually stick out quite a ways, but the elevation-wise goes up from you too, and it goes up a good amount. It goes up, probably height-wise, probably a 10-foot difference, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is some amount of elevation difference.
Climbable?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's difficult terrain, but yes.
All right, how far can I go out until I hit the difficult terrain? For instance, this is 30 here.
As soon as you start seeing ground that doesn't look like grass anymore, that's going to be difficult terrain.
So
that's
pretty much
30
right there.
Yeah. If that's 30, that's your whole movement, but the rest of that would be difficult terrain.
Gotcha. I'm going to go here, chuck a firebolt again.
Okay. Don't roll a It's Toki.
Don't hit
with
Toki.
you, right? Go ahead and do your cast. Natural 20. And it was a 2 on the crit table.
Then it's damage.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting the critical effect. That one sucked. So, much of these are garbage. Alright, so the only one that came up after like 4 tries or whatever that was, that was decent, is you kind of rush past and he comes barreling towards you. You dodge out of the way. He comes from behind you and just spins around and slashes at you with his jagged scimitar. And you kind of, using that just momentum, just kind of rush back again and kind of throw another bolt out from behind you as you're rushing over these rocks here. And the bolt goes sailing over and crashes straight into his chest. And you kind of have hopped over this rock. The rock that was there, you kind of hopped over that a little bit and are kind of covered by it a little bit. You have a +5 bonus to AC, to your AC for 1 round. So until your next turn, you get a bonus to your AC. But yeah, it hit and it was a crit, so go ahead and just roll your damage and it'll automatically apply the crit. Jesus, a fucking cantrip. That's a cantrip, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 30. But yeah, the bolt kind of crashes into his chest and rolls up over him, and he doesn't make a sound, but you see that must have hurt because it rolls in around the breastplate even, and it is kind of singeing into the flesh. In fact, Navarra, who hasn't had a chance to react yet, you can smell the kind of burning skin next to you. That's it for your turn, Peter.
That's it.
Toki.
Toki's an idiot. Just gonna have him run around a little bit and cause some distraction.
Okay. I think I put that effect on you, didn't I?
Yeah, it says shield resisted AC2.
Okay, I'll put that on you. Right.
Oh no, that's Ketis. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm putting the Toki effect on. Okay, there we go. So Toki, assuming he's within range at the time, anyways, will be distracting the masked guy. Okay, and it is Navarro's turn. What are you doing?
Hey. Alright. So, since he obviously smells like burnt flesh now, I am going to change into my panther form because it's got a keen sense of smell, so I can smell where it is since I can't see him.
Oh shit! Sorry. Yeah. So actually, that's useful, of course, here. But you did see the fire. You guys, Ketis and Navarro, both saw fire kind of rolling around something. A shape there was the breastplate. You just didn't know that. But yeah, the fire did kind of burn out. So that's I mean, it wasn't basically, you knew he was there at that moment, but you wouldn't necessarily know where he was long term. So that's good. Okay.
Shape. Like here.
Yeah, in your panther form, you can instantly tell where he is. He's right next to you, and in fact, the kind of burning smell is overpowering almost. It's so close.
Alright, so now with panther, I get both bite and claw, right?
You get what?
Both bite and claw?
Yeah.
Okay. Well. Damn.
You kind of collapse onto all four and kind of bring into this into your panther form there, and just immediately try to lash out into this shape that you know is there. But you weren't quite fully transformed before it went off, or before you tried to bite into it and still miss. So go ahead and try your claw. That's what you're gonna do. But the claw sinks straight into what you presume is a leg based on the shape, and you feel like it's sunk into maybe just behind the knee and slashed into it. It feels like they sunk into flesh. Go ahead and roll your damage on it. You don't hear or sense any kind of a reaction from him. You feel like that should have hurt. I mean, it definitely hurt him. He's just not reacting to it. Like he didn't shout or say ow or anything like that. Doing anything else?
No, because I can't move without him getting.
He'll definitely get
An
an
attack,
opportunity
right?
back if you move, yeah.
So I'll just stay where I am.
Okay. He is going to use a legendary action at the end of his turn. This is the first time I think you guys have seen legendary actions. Basically, for lack of a better term, boss-type bad guys have what are called legendary actions. They get 3 every turn. They have to use them. Here, I'll just tell you. I'm just reading the info.
Ben says he can't hear anything.
What do you mean? Can't hear anything?
Can't hear fucking word.
We can't hear anything on the headset.
At all?
Yeah.
No, I can, but it's just cutting in and out and it's really fuzzy.
Here.
I've just been doing that for like 2 minutes now. I guess it's just me.
Sounds like it, because I can hear everybody fine. Sako, you hear everything fine?
Yep, everything's good.
Yeah, I haven't had any trouble either.
Yeah, well, I'll turn that one down for now, just in case, see if that helps at all. Any difference, G?
Yeah, it's actually better.
It sounds like you've got maybe a little bit of lag or something, I'm not sure. Are you on the wireless? You're not hardwired, right?
No, we're both on the wireless.
You sound fine now. Okay. All right. Might be the headset. Maybe the battery's low or something. Anyway, so legendary actions, how they work. Boss-type guys, he has 3 legendary actions, and he has a list of different things he can do, basically. But how legendary actions work is for essentially bosses. Only 1 legendary action can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. But at the end of any creature's turn, it can use its legendary actions, and it gets 3 every single turn. So basically,
I'm gonna have to restart the system.
yeah, you're cutting out a little bit there
I'm
too.
gonna
G.
close something from my.
He's gonna restart Discord.
That's fine. But Sako and Becky, you guys get that?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, so at the end of anybody's turn, it can use its legendary actions. It gets 3. Some of the things that it can do, it might take 1, 2, or 3 of those actions, meaning basically it's 3 points every round. And in this particular case, it is going to react and try to riposte at Nivara for biting him, or for slashing his leg. So he's going to swing at the panther with its scimitar, and hits. It is going to be the riposte damage plus the sword damage. There it is. For 17 damage to you, and it is... Oh shit, now it's back to Kiedis' turn. And he gets his legendary actions back. Uh-oh. Weird. You guys still hear me okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The laptop dropped off of Steam for some reason. Any better, G?
He's not up yet. It's still trying to connect.
Okay.
I have a question. Should that have been taken off of Nevar or the Nevar wild shape?
Yeah, that should have been off of the wild shape, and it was 17, and the wild shape was... Wild shape was only 14 HPs. Oh, 1 second. Alright, testing. Good. Alright. Let's hear my own echo for a second there. I think Discord might be acting up all around, because it was acting up for my laptop too. Ben reconnected, but it still wasn't working.
Yeah, so he's trying to restart it again.
Okay.
He's gonna restart the computer.
Well, we're a little over on time anyways. It's actually, we're a little over 3 hours just now. Do you guys want to, because, I mean, we have probably another, after this fight, 5 minutes, but this fight could go a while. So do you want to just call it here and we'll just pick up here next week?
Probably call it here just to get the audio fixed up and everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
That work? All right. And I will close that down.